Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
Welcome aboard. This is the Dan Patrick Show.
Bob Costas, the Hall of Fame broadcaster, joining us on the program. Good morning, Bob. How are you? If the Bulls were playing now, would we treat them the same way? Would they be as beloved? Because we tend to chop up everything nowadays. Would they wear out their welcome?
Nothing is fully appreciated anymore. Nothing is. Has there ever been someone better at what he did than Vin Scully? I guarantee you, if they were each 40 years old and plying their trade on national television today, there'd be all kinds of social media sniping at them, you know.
I wonder how they would critique Vin Scully's style now.
It's been a great ride. God has been extremely generous to me.
Hey, cut the poetry, Robert Frost, and give me the balls and strikes.
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave, this is Dan Patrick.
Welcome to the program. Hope you had a good weekend, safe weekend. We're here for you all 3 hours. Hope you can stay a while. You can watch on youtube.com/The Dan Patrick Show. You can also listen on the 362 radio affiliates around the country. Boys are here ready to go. We'll check in with the director of The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan Chicago Bulls documentary. Jason Hare will join us coming up a little bit here. Check in on the Dallas Cowboys. My Cowboys got a backup quarterback. And the great Will Ferrell will stop by the program as well. As we do every Monday, best and worst of the weekend, what you saw that you liked, you didn't like. You can play a role in the program. You can dial us up, 877-3DP-SHOW. Email address, dp@danpatrick.com. Twitter handle at DP Show. Some great T-shirts during the coronavirus shutdown here. We have a Quarantine This. We have some other ones there. Beer Here T-shirts that we're raising money for the stadium workers. So you can go to danpatrick.com, check out all the gear that we have, some great prices there. The big NFL news over the weekend was Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle, signing with the Cowboys. And it's interesting in its own right because Dalton is a former Pro Bowl quarterback. He's been an All-Pro 4 times, a Pro Bowl quarterback, I should say 4 times, not an All-Pro. And he's looking to restart his career at the age of 32. I don't know if this says something about the Cowboys' current situation with Dak Prescott. They haven't signed him yet. Now, he's got $31 million coming his way, but he hasn't signed that yet. He wants a long-term deal for a lot more money than that, looking for probably $35 million a year over a 4 or 5 year deal. And maybe Jerry Jones wants to put a little pressure on Dak Prescott. Or maybe it has nothing to do with it. Maybe it's Andy Dalton at age 32. He's going back home to Dallas where he lives and currently lives, so he doesn't have to uproot and has a chance to kind of reset, hit the reset button on his career and then figure out if he's got something after this 1 year in Dallas and then he can go someplace else. It is curious, though. If he had gone to New England, what would we be saying about New England? Oh, okay. All right. You got a guy who can win you some games. It's going to be an upgrade over Jarrett Stidham. We would be looking at that as a positive for the Patriots for the regular season, that he would be able to compete for the starting job. If he had gone to Jacksonville, what would we have said? Ooh, Gardner Minshew got a little competition there. With Dallas, is it just a coincidence you're bringing in Andy Dalton? And he has a chance to make $7 million. If you look at the backup quarterbacks now in the NFL, there aren't many names there. And if you have a quarterback who plays every game, you're not spending a whole lot of money on your backup quarterback. Who is Seattle's backup quarterback? Any idea? Yeah, Paulie?
Seneca Wallace.
Nope. No, he's not. Does anybody know Seattle's backup quarterback? Seton O'Connor.
Is he a Mountaineer? Is Geno Smith there?
Geno Smith? Good poll? Yes, McLevin.
Is it Geno Smith? That was my answer. I'm actually not sure. Is it?
I don't think Geno Smith is the backup quarterback there.
It's somebody along those lines.
Well, you could Google it because I asked the question not knowing the answer. But I don't, just letting you know, that's how, I don't always ask a question I know the answer to, but I probably give that impression. I was actually asking the question, who is Seattle's backup quarterback here? You start to look at these guys. You know, Dak Prescott's backup last year was Cooper Rush, I believe.
Excuse me?
Yes, Cooper Rush. I think Easton Stick with the Chargers. Although I liked Easton Stick at North Dakota State. Yeah, McLevin.
Cooper Rush, they bring him out on Color Rush.
Yeah, they do. Have you found Seattle's backup quarterback?
No, I was too busy crafting that Fritzy-ass joke.
Yes, Todd.
Colt McCoy.
Colt McCoy?
No, he
That's
said
my guess.
Old McCoy because he cut off his mic.
Oh,
Colt McCoy.
Old McCoy. No. It's called Google. Google Seattle's backup quarterback here.
I have their second leading passer from last year.
We'll have it ready for the start of the show, though. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Josh Gordon was their second leading passer last year. He had one attempt.
Yes, McLevin.
Remember a certain host of ours used to say, Eddie, get the book. And they used to go to a book to look up all the stats from before.
Get the book.
Google suggests Geno Smith is Russell's backup.
Now, I thought they had somebody else in there. All right.
Anthony Gordon?
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Okay.
Yeah. In other words, Dallas has a high-profile backup quarterback, and I'm not supposed to read anything into this. You know, like, okay, you bring in Dalton. You can't get Dak Prescott signed to a long-term deal. I looked at it as just a coincidence. I didn't think, boy, this is going to give Jerry leverage. I don't think Dak Prescott and his agent are going, we got to worry here. Now, I still believe Dak should be looking at not a hometown discount, but being economically smart here, fiscally responsible, that you're going to make at least, $5 to $10 million off the field by just being the Cowboys quarterback. That this is valuable real estate. We see what's happened with Troy Aikman. We see what's happened with Tony Romo. When you're a Cowboys quarterback, there's a whole lot of cachet that goes with it, and a whole lot of cash as well. But with Dak Prescott, I still think there's a deal that gets done with Jerry Jones. Jerry is trying to do everything possible to make sure that he wins at least one more Super Bowl. And if that means I've got a backup quarterback who is reliable, and if something happens to Dak, as it does with most quarterbacks, I have somebody who can come in, and I'm going to pay a little bit more for a high-end backup. And maybe it's just this 1 year. Look at everything that he's done. I mean, they went out and got CeeDee Lamb. They didn't need CeeDee Lamb. They needed other things. But Jerry wants to go out and be the Kansas City Chiefs of the NFC. We're going to go out and we're going to sling it. We got a track team here, and we're going to go. That's what he's trying to do. You got a backup quarterback here. Okay. Remember what happened with the Kansas City Chiefs during the year? Their season almost ended when Patrick Mahomes got injured. All of that talent, ready to win now. Maybe that's what Jerry is doing. Maybe. But I found it interesting that of all the places Andy Dalton was going to go, I didn't see Dallas because I thought at his age, at age 32, he still has something to prove. Wants to be able to compete for a starting role. Maybe New England wasn't a good fit. Maybe Jacksonville didn't want to bring in Andy Dalton to put pressure on Gardner Minshew. Maybe Jacksonville doesn't really want to win games this year. That's what I'm thinking. Hey, you guys want to bring in Dalton? They could probably help us win. Nah, we'll stay with what we have here. Because if you got somebody is tanking for Trevor Lawrence. Somebody is. If they were tanking for Tua, they're tanking for Trevor. You can believe that. Is it going to be Washington? Dwayne Haskins got one more year here to prove himself. Absolutely one more year. Carolina's going to have Teddy Bridgewater for this coming season. If things don't go well and you bring in Trevor Lawrence, if you're going to be Jacksonville, Gardner Minshew, one more year. That's all you get. Yeah, Paulie.
Confirmed last year, 2019, Geno Smith was on the roster, never threw a pass, but was the backup.
Okay.
Anthony Gordon's a new guy in Seattle.
This program is brought to you by the great folks at LegalZoom. No matter what happens, you want to make sure your loved ones are taken care of. That's why LegalZoom has made it easy to set up the right estate plan without leaving your home. Take care of your family today with the right estate plan at LegalZoom.com. All right, we'll get to phone calls here. Best and worst of the weekend. What we liked, what we didn't like. And we'll hear from Michael Jordan after last night with episodes 5 and 6. Some spicy stuff there. Interesting stuff. In Russell Wilson's 8 years as the Seahawks starting quarterback, Seattle's quarterbacks, other than Wilson, have thrown a total of 47 passes and 2 touchdowns. So the last time a Seahawks quarterback, other than Russell Wilson Jr. III, threw a touchdown, Trayvon Boykin. Wasn't he TCU's Trayvon Boykin?
Nice.
So if you have the guy who's healthy, you don't really worry about your backup quarterback. It's when you have a guy who's a little bit frail. I mean, that's why Philadelphia did what Philadelphia, did during the draft. They went out and they got Jalen Hurts. Yes, McLovin.
But I don't understand. Dak's never gotten hurt. So to me, this isn't about the back. This is about Dak because they don't need a backup. Dak never gets hurt.
You think that this is leverage for Jerry Jones?
I'm on the camp, and I don't know. But, yeah, I do think it might be sort of put a little bit of pressure because the only other backup plan was Cooper Rush if Dak Prescott didn't show up. So, I mean, I don't think it's like a hardcore leverage point, but I do think it might have factored into Jerry's thinking.
It's not a lot of money unless you need him to play, and then it becomes a little bit more money than you want to spend on a backup quarterback. But we've seen where these backup quarterbacks are invaluable. Obviously, with what happened with Nick Foles, when you have these quarterbacks, Matt Castle stepping in for Tom Brady, we have these moments where you go, you got a quarterback who can. Teddy Bridgewater, he stepped in for Drew Brees, won 5 games, won in Seattle. You don't want to get to that moment, but if you do, you don't want your season to go away because you still look at the NFC East. The Giants they're average, Redskins below average. The Eagles are probably right there with the Dallas Cowboys. You're not quite sure. I still think Dallas is a better team, but you want to take advantage of this. They didn't win their own division last year, which is amazing. They went 8-8 after outscoring the opposition by more than 100 points. That's happened 3 times in NFL history. A team did not have a winning record after outscoring the opposition by more than 100 points. Jerry wants to make sure I got a new coach. We can't get together here. I can't be, having these, in-person meetings here. I need somebody who is going to be there who can help the situation. Andy Dalton strikes me as willing to be a backup quarterback. Jameis Winston knows I got to be a backup quarterback. Marcus Mariota, I have to be a backup quarterback. This is going to be the same situation with Mitchell Trubisky. I'm going to have to be a backup quarterback somewhere. And then you see if you have that second career there. For some of these guys, maybe a first career, but maybe you get that second chance. Andy Dalton's doing a 1 year. This is a layover. And then maybe he gets a chance at age 33 to be a starter again. Maybe. Joe Flacco got that opportunity with Denver. You're going to get these opportunities, but I think this isn't leverage. I don't think Dak Prescott is concerned that if I don't sign, he's going to sign for 1 year for at least $31 million. Dak's not walking away from $31 million. He's making 31 while Andy's making a couple million the same year. I don't think this is where they go, we've seen enough of Andy Dalton. We don't need Dak Prescott anymore. Dak Prescott's their future, plain and simple. They'll sign him. It's been embarrassing that it's taken this long. They'll sign him to a long-term deal. He's going to make his $35 million a year. And then 2 years from now, we'll look back and go, they got him for 35. That seems like a good price. At the moment, in the moment, seems like a lot of money. Jerry has spent all this money on everybody else. You gave Amari Cooper $100 million. He paid Zeke. He paid the offensive line. Pay the quarterback. Move on. Yeah, McLovin.
35 still seems like a lot, though. You're right. In 2 years, it won't. But right now,
it does.
He was 8-8 last year.
I know. Is he a great quarterback? No. Is he the right quarterback for them? That's what they have to decide. And if he's not, that's when they should have done something in the draft. If you love Dak, great. Then pay him. If not, stop the charade here. Because you're paying everybody. Is Amari Cooper a high-end wide receiver? No. He's a good receiver, but a high-end, not in my opinion, but you paid him that way. Zeke Elliott, you paid him, and nobody's paying their running backs anymore, but you paid him. You paid the offensive line. Great. Do I think Dak benefits from an already made team that was there for Tony Romo? Absolutely. If you put him on Jacksonville, we're not talking about Dak Prescott. We just aren't. But with Dallas, he's the right quarterback for them. So you pay him. But Andy Dalton come to town, that to me doesn't change it. I think it's a win-win situation. You got a guy, something happens, he's there. Dak is still your starting quarterback. It's good for Andy Dalton to come home from the Dallas area. He gets to play for the Cowboys for 1 year. If he plays, he makes a lot of money. If he doesn't, okay, you got an insurance policy. That's all. Seems like a win-win to me. What's the poll question today, McLovin?
Well, we can go with the Dak situation. Quick question on Andy Dalton. If you were Andy Dalton, would you rather be the backup for the Cowboys or try and work your way as a starter for the Jags, who seem to be, as you mentioned, tanking for Trevor?
I would always want to start. But I don't know. I don't know if Andy Dalton got an offer.
Right. No, we don't know at all.
Yeah, let's be fair to the situation here. Andy Dalton may not have had any opportunities here. I'm guessing New England maybe looked at him, but didn't look at him that hard.
Well, I would think, though, if I'm Andy Dalton, I would want to be a backup instead of the Jags, because that's just going to ruin your career. I mean, they don't have any wide receivers. Their coaching staff's going to be out by next year. It doesn't seem like I wouldn't want that job. I know you would always want to play.
I just want to play. I don't want to sit. And maybe this helps Andy Dalton. I don't know how. Unless, he gets into some game. If he gets into some games, then Dak has been hurt. He's a guy who doesn't do well in the playoffs. He's a good regular season quarterback. Yeah, Paul.
Maybe the question is, and this is a little tongue in cheek, whose career is in better shape right now, Cam Newton's or Andy Dalton's? Well, going forward,
Cam wants to start.
Right. He may be unemployed in August.
Yes.
By choice and not by choice.
Well, he may say, look, I'm not going unless I can start. And a team's going to go, well, we're not bringing you in unless you want to be a backup. I think Cam's just going to wait for somebody to get injured, and then he'll be there for you. But Andy Dalton seems like in a better landing spot right now because he knows what his role is. Cam doesn't know what his role is. Like, he wants to be a starter. Nobody can tell. They're not able to get in person with him to find out if he's healthy or not. Yeah, Paul.
Cam Newton feels like an NFL superstar who hasn't been a superstar in the field for about 5 years. His last Pro Bowl season was 2015. He was All-Pro. I think he was league MVP that year.
And Super Bowl.
He hasn't made a Pro Bowl since.
Yeah, he's in a bad situation, certainly with what's going on, in the world of trying to get in front of people and prove that he's healthy. Like, he has more to prove, it feels like, than Tua does. Tua, at least we had medicals there. You had some records. With Cam, people don't know. Yeah, McLovin.
I think Andrew Luck is a warning story for Cam, too. Like, I think people are worried that could happen to him, where it just gets too much, the injuries.
Well, it doesn't seem like that. And they're the same age, aren't they? And
yeah, but Luck tried to come back the year before. He tried hard to come back, and it just fell out. The wheels kept falling off, right? I mean, they're same age. Aren't they kind of similar in build and sort of style a little bit?
What if Cam just takes a year off? What if he does what Rob Gronkowski did? Then you find out sort of what's going on. He's still young enough that if he's healthy, Cam is fascinating. But you got to have the right coach and the right team there if you're going to bring him in. The fact that Ron Rivera has not brought in Cam Newton, he brought in Kyle Allen, who was Cam Newton's backup, who then got some run there. That kind of tells you a little bit about where the Redskins are and where Cam Newton is, that his former coach is not bringing him in to Washington. All right, we'll take a break. We'll get to your phone calls coming up. We'll settle on a poll question, best and worst of the weekend, what you saw that you liked, you didn't like. Coming up next, after 6 episodes, what have we learned about The Last Dance? We'll talk to the director, Jason Hare. A few things came out last night, had to do with Michael's gambling, the Dream Team with Isaiah Thomas, picking Nike over Adidas. He wanted Adidas. He ended up with Nike. His mom forced him to take a trip to Oregon to go to the Nike headquarters. Got on that plane, and all of a sudden, that changed basketball forever. Sports marketing forever. 20 after the hour, the director of The Last Dance joins us next here on The Dan Patrick Show. 1-800-FLOWERS. You got to take me up on this offer because Mother's Day is coming up next weekend, the official florist of Mother's Day and the Dan Patrick Show. 1-800-FLOWERS. They will give you an extra 6 roses free plus a vase to go along with that. It's a great offer. Take me up on it right now. So you get 20% off the original price. Great way to make every mom feel loved when it matters most. 1-800-Flowers to buy a dozen sorbet roses. Get an extra 6 roses free. That free vase, $39.99. That's an amazing offer. Hurry now. It expires Tuesday. Don't put it off. Order today. The official florist of Mother's Day, 1-800-Flowers.com. You pick the delivery date. Also, all deliveries are contactless. The person who is delivering the flowers will drop them off. There's no exchange whatsoever, so you're going to feel safe. To order the dozen sorbet roses, get an extra 6 roses plus that free vase, $39.99. 1-800-Flowers.com. Click on the radio icon. Enter code Patrick. 1-800-Flowers.com. Code Patrick. The offer ends tomorrow. I see Kevin out in the halls, and during the commercial break, he goes, man, I wish Josh Duhamel would still have been here, man. I remember playing against him, and I'm talking trash to him. I said, why are you talking trash to Josh Duhamel?
It was the craziest thing. We were in the entertainment league, the NBA entertainment league, and Fergie was sitting in the stands. They hadn't even gotten married yet, and I looked up, and I was like, oh, wow, Fergie's here. And then I was checking Josh, and I was like, yo, you brought your girl to the gym? And then I hit a jumper. And then I was like, yo, you better get your girl out of here. You're about to get the business. And I just started losing my mind. And at first.
Why?
What? Listen, it's you know how it is when you play basketball. And then Josh looked at me at first like I was crazy. Then he started laughing because then he missed a jumper. And I was like, your jumper's garbage. Yeah, and I was saying it loud enough so Fergie could hear me. But the best part was that I yacked and yacked and yacked. And he laughed and laughed and laughed. But then I went right from the game to the Grammys on the red carpet, and Fergie, the first thing she says when the Black Eyed Peas walk up is like, yo, that guy right there talks a lot of junk. And I was just like, I was having an out-of-body experience. I was like losing my mind. But Josh is the best.
Do you do that
guy.
for other people you play against? Who else do you play against?
All I do is talk now. Dad, we hit a point where we just talk now. That's all. I just talk. I just walk up and down and I talk. A lot of walking, a lot of talking. One little spurt, you have a spurt, and you're like, I gave you the bit. You can't even check me. The young guys who come into my house, I always tell them, I'm like, I'm older than your dad, and I'm giving it to you. And I play with a guy named Steve Carlson, who is the general manager of the NBC affiliate here. Now, he is over 60 and still plays 3 times a week. And so he's like my basketball sensei, and we play together, and it's a mess.
What other actors do you play against? Have you played against?
All the guys played in the NBA E-League. I mean, everybody was in that league. Will
Ferrell played in that.
Will was in that. I yacked at Will a little bit, but I mean, Will is a friend. But Will laughed.
Who's first team? All entertainment.
NBA, all entertainment league. Well, back in the day, I'm going to go back in the day. I'm going to back up. Brian McKnight was really good.
Yeah.
And there were a couple other guys you hadn't heard of. Pookie Wigginton, who played for. Do you remember Pookie? No, he was the point guard when Seton Hall lost to Michigan. He was the point guard, and now he runs all Kevin Hart stuff. He murdered guys in the entertainment league.
Can Kevin Hart play basketball?
Listen, that's entertainer basketball. And let me just say this: when guys in Hollywood talk about they can play, there's a handful, but most of them are just dudes who, like you and I, can still get out and run with.
Sandler can still play.
Okay, ask Adam when we went one-on-one, and I had on a full suit. I wore a full suit to one of the movie sets. I'm not going to say which one, but and Adam and I played basketball on the set. We went at it. Adam can tell you the story. So in a full suit and shoes.
So you took him
in a full suit and shoes.
Man, I like it.
But look, I'm older now. Listen, I'm letting those days go.
I don't think so.
Yeah, they're gone. They're gone.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
they never leave.
No, it's hard, man. It's hard.
I don't let it go.
But the interesting thing about the entertainment league was that there were there were people who took it so seriously that they lost their minds, and there were guys who you were just like, yo, you can't act like that. Rappaport was crazy. He got kicked out of every single game. Michael Rappaport would get kicked out of every game. He would lose his mind, cursing, yelling, screaming at the refs. And listen, Michael's a good guy, but he has no game. But, I mean, if he goes to the hoop, he better get a foul. And if he doesn't, he is screaming and cursing and losing his mind. It was crazy.
Dan Patrick Show brought to you by Mercedes-AMG. Be prepared for whatever comes your way. The all-new GT four-door coupe, because life is a race. Visit your local dealership for a test drive today. If you missed any of our celebrity interviews from the Mercedes-AMG Man Cave, go to the Dan Patrick Show app. Watch and listen from inside the Mercedes-AMG Man Cave. Mercedes-AMG driving performance, play of the day, a couple of stats of the day as well. And we'll get to your phone calls as well. Best and worst of the weekend, what you saw that you liked, you didn't like. Episodes 5 and 6 aired last night. The Last Dance, ESPN's documentary on the Chicago Bulls. Jason Hare has done a great job as the director. 7 and 8 will air next Sunday, May 10th, starting at 9 Eastern. Jason, let me start with the music, the choice of music that you have in trying to match the period there. Give me the detail that went into that.
It's the most important aspect of it to me. Anytime we do a project, the first thing I start with is the music. And, I walk around my neighborhood in New York and listen to songs that we may use, that we may not use, but something that gets me in the mood of what that music or what the doc is going to sound like, how the story is going to feel. And the texture of the entire documentary is the music. This was a really great opportunity because this doc is based in 80s and 90s nostalgia. And my greatest musical love is old school hip hop. So I could not wait to sink my teeth into matching up songs to each era that we're covering in each episode. So it was a field day. We had an incredible team of music clearance people. Old school hip hop is the hardest thing to clear because there's so many samples and so many of them went unchecked back in the day. Like no one was keeping track of those before sampling laws came into effect. But Rudy Chung and the guys that hit the ground running did an incredible job with this. So I was lucky to have them.
What kind of music fan is Jordan, or was Jordan back then?
I think he's more R&B. I don't think that he's the kind of guy who would listen to I'm Bad, LL Cool J before a game. He famously said that he listens to Giving You the Best That I've Got, Anita Baker before games. And it just wouldn't it's just another incredible thing about him, big or small, but it wouldn't have fit the tone that I was trying to match in the doc. So we decided to go with our own taste rather than Michael's.
When you have the Barack Obama comment, you have the political topic where, Mike says, Republicans buy Nikes as well. Then you have President Obama, his comment on being disappointed in Mike. Did Jordan know what Obama was going to say in the documentary?
He didn't know what President Obama was going to say, but he saw that episode. I mean, I was surprised. This goes back to, people saying that Michael has creative control or he could have taken out anything that we did. He had the power to do so, and he never wielded that power. That soundbite that's in there where the guy compares him to Muhammad Ali and says Michael will never be like Ali. Not only did Michael want to keep that in, he wanted to answer to that because he saw a rough cut of episode 5 before we did that interview when he's in the black shirt. The black shirt interview is from December of last year. So that's why you see him speaking on that in the blue shirt, which was 2 years ago. And then he saw the cut and said, I leave it in and I want to speak to that as well, the Ali stuff. So it was interactive with him throughout.
He doesn't apologize for anything.
No, he doesn't. And I was talking with my girlfriend last night watching this. It's a refreshing. I think it's part of the refreshing part of this doc is that no one seems to. Horace Grant says, no, I was not the guy who leaked that stuff to Sam Smith. Isaiah says that's the way that people did it back then. They walked off. Michael says, if you want someone to stand behind a podium and further your agenda, you're probably following the wrong guy. Follow somebody else. I love the fact that these guys stand by what they did decades ago. And they're not being indignant. They just believe in what they say.
Jordan didn't take out anything?
I'm sorry?
Jordan didn't take out anything?
Oh, he did not. No. And when you see the episodes next week, you'll be surprised. Maybe he skipped episode 7. I'm not sure, but I can't believe that he didn't.
Wait, well, what did he? You have the Steve Kerr fight, but what is tasty that he should have maybe had edited?
Well, the Steve Kerr fight is only a story that's told, and he was eager to tell that, and Steve was too. But the footage, this treasure trove of footage that we have from the NBA, what we tackle in episodes 7 and 8 next week is what it was like to play with Michael, and then what it was like to play against him in 7 and 8 respectively. And the with Michael stuff, man, I don't know if you would want to practice with Michael Jordan. It'd be fun to watch. I don't know if it'd be fun to interact with him during that, because he is hard. He wanted to make those practices harder than any game could possibly be. And in the East back in the 90s, that meant making it as rough and as mentally grueling as possible. And there's things in there. There's language in there that I'm shocked that ESPN let us keep in, and there's behavior in there that I'm shocked that Michael let us keep in. But we were lucky enough that we had great partners in both.
I remember when I would be at the NBA Finals and have a chance to talk to Judd Bushler or Steve Kerr, and they would always talk about, how intense. They always said, you're seeing it from the outside. We see it from the inside. It's not as enjoyable on the inside. On the outside, it looks like you're playing with Jordan and we're winning championships. It was really tough. And if you got the look, they always talked about you never wanted the look from Jordan. Because if you got the look, you weren't getting the ball. Like that intensity that they had every single practice, that it goes back to when Mike decided to take a couple of years off. I think Mike got so into this and had to be so much to so many things and so many people. I don't know if he could have continued to do what he was doing. And I think he actually needed a break. We see coaches do this. You have burnout. I think Mike had burnout. After watching all of this, Jace, I think he had burnout. Did he address that?
He did, and we address it more because he leaves for baseball, and you'll see all his baseball experience is covered in episode 7, and episode 8 is his comeback from baseball. It absolutely was burnout, and he wanted to do this as recently as 92 from 93, but as far back, if you look at, there's a Roy Firestone interview from 1984 on Up Close on ESPN, and Michael says to Firestone when he's about to leave UNC for the draft, he says that he's going to leave pro basketball at 30 and become a golfer. He always had this in his mind that he was going to do this, dominate for a while, and then leave and go do something else. It's just how his mind works. I'm sure he's sitting at home in quarantine right now wondering what else he can beat once this thing gets lifted and he can go out and interact with the rest of the world. So he was absolutely burnt out. And then it was greatly compounded by the death of his dad. He was grieving and he needed a reset. Yeah. So we addressed some of the reasons that people say he left this suspension conspiracy theory. We addressed all of that with David Stern, with Michael and others. But the guy was burnt out. He was done. He was done physically. He was done mentally. He was done spiritually, and he needed to go somewhere else.
He's Jason Hare. He's the director of ESPN's The Last Dance. You got episodes 5 and 6 that aired last night. 7 and 8 will air next Sunday, May 10th, starting at 9 Eastern. What was the toughest question you asked him throughout all of this?
It was hard to discuss his dad because, one of our goals in this thing was to present these guys as human beings, not as icons, not as statues, but as human beings. And when you're talking to someone about losing their parent, no matter what the circumstances, it's a tough thing to bring up. And when you're talking to someone about their father being murdered, it's extremely tough to bring up. And then you have to ask the question of how do you respond to these rumors that you were somehow responsible for his death? It's just kind of it's a stew of difficult topics to bring up all in one subject and all in one time period. So I gave him a heads up before the interview that this is going to be one of the ones where we go deep on that kind of stuff and just prepare for that. And I told him from the outset that there's going to be difficult questions that I ask you. You can choose to answer them however you please. I have to ask them. And he respected that.
Did you ever get the look from him? Like he was disappointed in you? Or mad?
I don't think so. I mean, I got the look like that's a dumb question, or I got the look like he's I don't know if you can say this on your air, but he's a ball buster, definitely. And part of that is fun. You know that.
Yeah.
You've dealt with him a lot more than I have. The final interview that we did, we finished the interview and I said, is there anything else that you want to add to this? And he made some sort of joke like, no, I think we have it covered in 8 hours of talking. And then I said, all right, 10 seconds of room tone. And we have to do that for editing purposes. So everyone in the room has to be quiet and we just have to record the sound of the room quietly for 10 seconds. I said, all right, 10 seconds, go. And I have to count to 10 in my head and then I call it and the interview is wrapped. So I called, all right, room tone, 10 seconds. I was quiet, counted to 10 and said, all right, thanks, we're done. He said, that was 13.
Who said no to an interview?
There were some, my standard answer so far has been that we got every person we wanted to tell a story from. All the stories we wanted to tell, we got the right person to tell the story. There were people who said, no, I'd rather not share that.
Who was reluctant?
Stockton was reluctant because, I finally got him on the phone. We interviewed John Stockton on March 10th.
This March 10th.
Yeah. So that was Tuesday, March 10th. We interviewed him in Spokane. It was so deep into this COVID crisis that we decided I shouldn't fly to Spokane because we were afraid that flights would get grounded indefinitely. So we had someone out there, a stringer from Seattle, drove in and did that interview. He was reluctant because I finally got him on the phone after like 2 years of chasing him in January or February. And he said, I don't want to be part of a Michael Jordan puff piece. And I said, I can assure you that this is not a puff piece. And I explained to him who else was participating and that he was the 106th interview in the process and what we were covering. And then guys like BJ Armstrong were reluctant out of deference to Michael because they're protecting Michael and they wanted to know, who these people are who are telling this story. Is Michael cool with it? There were plenty of people who, it's not easy to get people to sit down and talk about Michael because he casts such a large shadow over people's lives still. So they want to know all sorts of details about, all right, who is this telling the story? What have they done before? What kind of story is this going to be? So we had a lot of reluctance, but very few. I mean, we had 106 interviews and we cast a really wide net and maybe 2 or 3 people said they'd rather not be a part of it.
But the fact that Stockton says, I don't want to be part of a puff piece, how did you react to that?
I loved it. I've never heard John Stockton's voice. I've never heard it. He's so reticent. I mean, he could have sounded like Scottie Pippen. He could have sounded like my mom. Like I had no idea what he was going to sound like. But I respected him more for saying, no, it's not that I don't want to do it. It's just that I don't feel like gushing about Michael Jordan for a half hour and you guys putting it. It still stings, those losses.
Oh, Reggie Miller was on a couple of weeks ago, Jace. I mean,
Reggie's another guy. Reggie's another guy, man. And we tried and we were getting official no's from Reggie. And Gail DeGassino, who's his manager, I had to reach out to her personally and assure her like we were doing this the right way. We were getting no's from him. And then I was listening to him call games and he was saying, I haven't gotten the call yet. I'm hoping to be a part of this thing. And I was like, Reggie, we're dying for you to be a part of this. But it still stings with these guys. Larry Bird is legendarily, Larry Legend, no pun intended, legendarily reluctant to speak about anything. He just doesn't like doing these interviews. But it's like I said before that when Michael calls, people pick up in the first ring. So Magic said, I don't know if this happened, but Magic told me that when he did it, he called Larry and said, you have to do it because I did it. It's this incredible, Mount Rushmore of guys who have this kind of pact that they all are going to tell each other stories. It's really cool to observe.
What was your reaction when the, Ken Burns, who does documentaries for a living, said that this really wasn't a documentary, The Last Dance? How'd you react to that?
Ken Burns is one of my idols. He's got an extraordinary body of work, and he's one of the reasons why I wanted to do what I do now. So I was a little disappointed that he hadn't seen it yet, and he seemed to be casting judgment. But he called me the other day and couldn't have been more gracious and couldn't have been more classy and said that he apologized, not for what he said, but for the fact that it was taken out of context and that he deals in a PBS world where anyone who has a remote connection to the subject is automatically forbidden to be a part of the process. And so for Michael to be a partner in this and for him to be watching Rough Cuts, he said that that's just something that would not happen in my world. So it was really, it was incredible to actually get a phone call from that guy because I've looked up to him forever. Also, I would say that I'm not, what we do is journalistic, but I wouldn't call myself a journalist. I am in the business of storytelling, and we use a visual medium to tell these stories. And when someone like Michael Jordan grants you the access and the permission to tell his story, you'd be a fool not to take it. And I'm proud to say, and Michael should be proud to say, that there was never one frame of this documentary that he exercised any censorship over. So Ken is in his business. He does a great job at it. He's a legend. He's in any kind of filmmaking hall of fame that you could think of. And I'm trying to do my job as well. We
have 10 episodes. Can you see maybe an 11th episode there, Jason? Like leftovers.
There's a lot of leftovers. There were 500 hours of footage that season, and we stopped telling our story in 1998.
What if ESPN said, give us an 11th, just leftovers, outtakes?
I would have to take a nap and decide after I got a good sleep.
Are you done with 9 and 10? Are they?
We're not.
They're not. Are you done with 7 and 8?
Yes, 7 and 8 are done.
Good.
9 is done. 7, 8, and 9 are done. 10, I'm waiting. I'm pacing outside the delivery room right now. They're supposed to give episode 10 the final audio mix and the final color correction any day now. I watch that. I give my notes. They incorporate my notes. I watch it a final time, and then that's that. So I think if we talk again, I think that when we talk again, it'll be done. A plume of white smoke will come out of a high rise in Tribeca. You'll see.
We'll have our next pope. I think there's going to be. It feels like there's going to be an 11th episode. Am I crazy in saying that? Has that been discussed?
It has not been discussed.
Okay. I just came up with it. We discussed it. So you can say it's in discussion. You've had discussions. We had a discussion here, Jason.
It's been discussed that there will be an 11th episode, and not with any of the partners who would greenlight it.
And I love seeing Kobe. You don't realize how impactful those words are until obviously with what happened. But I thought it was just such a mature way to approach this Jordan legacy of, I'm not there with him. He's the reason why I am where I am. It hit hard.
For me, it hit hard. I haven't seen these episodes in a long time because we signed off on these pre-COVID, and it's been such a race to the finish line. After he passed away, it was always striking in the edit room to see him come up. I will never wrap my head around it. I don't think any of us will. It doesn't make sense that someone who seemed that vibrant and vital and immortal, frankly, could be gone. So it's not the most articulate way to say it, man, but it is so sad to watch that last night. Was so sad and so poignant because of Michael's speech too at the memorial. That from both sides, that's confirmed. This is not just athlete BS and he's my big brother. He really felt that way about him, and Michael really felt that way about Kobe. It was such a special relationship. There's such kindred spirits. And to say it hit home is an understatement.
Go take a nap, Jason.
Thanks.
Yeah. Hey, well done so far, and we'll look forward to that 11th episode. You heard it here first on the Dan Patrick Show.
Oh, God.
Thank you, Jace.
All right, man.
That's Jason Hare. He's the director of ESPN's The Last Dance. He needs a nap. He went to bed at 3 a.m. and got up just to do this, so I appreciate that. But, man, the leftovers, the outtakes, I'm all in. Back with the play of the day and your phone calls after this. I have people who haven't talked to me in a while because I was on the steamed vegetable, purified water.
That was a tough run for all of us.
Oh, man. I was on that for almost 5 months. Then I got to introduce potatoes. Remember the day when I got to have potatoes instead of, I could add that to the steamed vegetables. I went out and bought 2 bags of potatoes. And my wife goes, you don't need 2 bags.
You dropped like Andy Dufresne getting out of Shawshank.
I was doing that, and then all of a sudden I got to add a piece of meat, or not fish. I got to have chicken or steak or something, 1 meal a day. And then all of a sudden I woke up one day and I went, I'm not feeling any better. I know this is smart to do. I got to go back to, I had had pizza in 6 months. I had had wings in 6 months. And I said, I think it's time that I dive back in. I hadn't had sushi. I'd had seafood in 6 months. And then all of a sudden I go, because I went to the doctor yesterday who had treated me for my inflammation. And she said, are you still on that goofy diet? I said, no, I'm done with that. And she goes, good. I'm glad you're back. Yeah, Paul.
Did you feel better after having beer and wings? Did you feel like
yes, I did.
See, they're good for you. They're healthy. Beer and wings is healthy. It puts you in a good mood.
Even pizza.
Yeah.
I was like, I kind of felt like I was back. Yes, McLevin.
But the hot thing is now plant-based diets. Apparently the Tennessee Titans are a big plant-based team.
You got celery with wings. That's plants.
I like the plant-based burgers. I'm fine with that. You can still eat smart. It's just I didn't want to seem like I was being punished, and it felt like I was being punished. Yes, Eden.
Who knew all these years later you'd be coming around to the old vegetarian?
Yeah. No, not anymore.
Yeah, well, you did. Yeah.
It didn't last.
Get yourself a nice greasy cheeseburger.
Yes. Yeah. But it was doctor's orders, or I never would have done it. But I'm glad I did it. I'm glad that I proved that I could do it, and I don't think I'll be going back to it anytime soon. But I will say, the plant-based stuff, you're getting the people in the meat industry, you're getting their attention, because now they're trying to figure out, all right, how do we capitalize on this market? Because it feels like it's here to stay. Yes, Todd.
How do they make it look like the color and texture of a burger is my question.
The same way they make it look like a color and a texture of a burger, and now with the whatever meat they're using at most of these fast food places.
I'm just fascinated by that, because when you think of burgers and steaks, like how do they get that black, grilled brown color? And are we going to hear something in the coming months or coming years that it's actually healthy to just eat the regular meat than these, plant-based ones?
Well, if you cook it, then it turns brown. That's why it.
Yeah, because what's healthy
brown
now all of a sudden is unhealthy, and what's unhealthy now is like great for you. Drink a lot of coffee. Don't drink any coffee. Have a lot of wine. Wine's terrible.
I'm still waiting for a medical report to say that tequila is good for you. That's what I'm waiting for. Yes.
There is still no version of these medical reports that I've seen, though, that says Mountain Dew and chicken Parmesan subs are the healthy way to go.
In moderation.
Fritzy's holding up that Mountain Dew report that it's the elixir.
When you look at Mountain Dew, it feels like it might peel paint.
It's like a lantern. It does have a glow to it in the dim light.
You could almost see it if you were able to look at your X-ray and you pour it in. You could just see this orange liquid, whatever it is.
But I'm sure it's fine for people with stomach embolish.
That's true.
It's that darn yellow number 5.
It settles you down.
It's reverse psychology to your stomach. I'm actually going to punish you.
Yeah, take that.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out how my question about plant-based burgers have to do with an attack on my dietary.
Well, no,
how did we get there?
We were talking about Mountain Dew.
But I didn't call it a particular person who's like saying how wonderful plant.
But you're questioning something that's more than likely healthy.
We know Mountain Dew is not healthy.
It's unlikely to be good for you.
It's not good for you. It's not. Plant-based, I would try it if I were you. Just try it.
What's the report on strip mall Chinese food?
I think the jury's still out on that.
Depends on how much the lobby, the strip mall Chinese food
lobby. You got to go to the 99-cent
pay.
places, like in the alley with the
I'll
lo
bet
mein.
that you've had plant-based burgers here and you don't even know it. I'll bet you have.
Well, I know there's definitely things in burgers that we all don't want to accept are in burgers.
Do you want the big German to go get some plant-based burgers and we'll cook those up?
We're having a burger showdown?
We can have a burger
Wednesday burger showdown?
We can
Great.
do it. You guys want to do that? Yeah, Paul.
There's a Burger King like 2 miles from here. We can go get a little Whopper, plant Whopper, and go toe-to-toe so you can recognize it. No one's ever done that before.
Yes, see.
I think it's funny, those commercials, that they don't actually recognize or realize what they're saying. It's not actually a statement about how, wow, these plant-based ones taste almost like real meat. It's more like, the real meat that you're supposedly using had nothing like real meat.
Exactly.
It's actually they're saying the exact opposite. It's like these ones are so terrible that you it's just like the soy one.
These aren't actors. And then you see them biting into a hamburger. It tastes just like a real burger.
No, it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
The play of the day.
Runner left side, got it! They're gonna play it and play it.
This is the play of the day.
Just push me.
Check this out.
Basin continues to run in second. Governor Morris is third. Then to the outside and Anno Dorf, final furlong. It's a 3-length advantage over Basin, who is running his heart out, but he is just not good enough. And Charlatan is going to run them off their feet and win the Arkansas Derby. We will see you in September, young man. Charlatan wins by 6.
This would have been the weekend of the Kentucky Derby. Charlatan wins the Arkansas Derby, giving him more than enough qualifying points for the Kentucky Derby that will now be raced in September, courtesy of the New York Racing Association. Play of the Day. Play of the Day is brought to you by LegalZoom. No matter what happens, you want to make sure your loved ones are taken care of. That's why LegalZoom has made it easy to set up the right estate plan without leaving your home. Take care of your family today with the right estate plan, LegalZoom.com. All right, we'll get to phone calls coming up. Paulie and I were just discussing, if you had an 11th episode, I would have the director there. Michael Thompson's brother, Andy Thompson, is as valuable as anybody on this documentary because he worked for NBA Entertainment and struck up a friendship with Michael. He was part of the film crew. And if you had just the people behind the scenes talking about the making of this, outtakes that you had, awkward moments, things that weren't aired. I think you could do something sort of wrapping it up and having fun and giving those people behind the scenes who were instrumental in making this happen. Because Michael and Adam Silver had this agreement. For over 20 years, they had all this footage. And then they had to agree to this. They finally did, and then they produced this. And there's still some stuff, though. I think Michael was burnt out. And I was around him in the Arizona League when Terry Francona was his manager, when he was out there playing baseball, winter baseball in Arizona. And I went out there with Charles Barkley. And you could see where Michael looked like he was refreshed. Like he was doing something that was so different, and there weren't the pressures on him and a lot of this pressure was self-applied. But it felt like he was able to breathe. And Charles even remarked, and I have a picture that was taken where I'm sitting with Jordan and Barkley, and he's in the dugout. And Michael I think he wanted to exhale. And whether it had something to do with, was he involved in gambling? Was he suspended? That's always been out there. It's always going to be out there. It's like the flu game. I had people in Park City, Utah, swore to me that they were there the night that Michael was staying in Park City, the night before the flu game, and that he was up all night, drinking and playing cards. The 3 guys who worked at a bar in Park City told me that last year when I was out there. Swore. Now, is it true? Who knows? There's always going to be, there's that myth quality to Michael now. And you had, didn't have social media. I mean, imagine if he did all of these things, any of these things now. Like LeBron gets ripped for being LeBron. Michael, we tend to look at, hey, he punched Steve Kerr. Man, I love that aggressive attitude in practice. Everybody should practice that way. Every day's the Super Bowl to him. We sort of go, hey, Michael didn't have a gambling problem. He had a competitive problem. Oh, okay. So Pete Rose had a gambling problem. Michael had a competitive problem. We pick and choose when it comes to this. It's fascinating. And to, kind of go behind the scenes there where a new generation is seeing what competition is all about. And I love the fact that the last time Kobe played against Michael was 40 and he was in a Wizards uniform. Kobe put up 55 on him. I love that. Hey, I don't care how old you are, Mike. I'm putting it on you. I think Kobe had 42 in the first half. I love that. And when he popped up on the screen, man, it's just a direct shot to the heart. It's like, oh, man. And he was so wise in what he said about Michael. hey, this isn't about me trying to be Michael. I mean, he's my hero. That I am who I am because of him. I just thought he was so wise there. We'll check in with the Dallas Cowboys coming up next year on the Dan Patrick Show. How old were you when you did Tommy Boy?
Yeesh. Middle of Saturday Night Live, I was probably 27, 28. It was called Billy the Third, and it was called Billy the Third, a Midwestern. That was on the cover page. That's how we read it. That's how we were going to shoot it. And guess in the next room who was doing Billy Madison? So we had to switch it. And then we couldn't think of a name the whole shoot.
And how'd you come up with Tommy Boy?
His name was Tommy. His dad calls him Tommy Boy once or twice. And then it was called Rocky Road. It was called Big Time. And then at the last second, someone hit me up and goes, it's called Tommy Boy now. I go, okay. I didn't love it, but now you can't even think of a different name. You know what I mean? It just sounded weird at the time, but worked out.
The fat man line when he's got on your jacket, is that scripted?
It wasn't in there, but it was because we shared a tiny office at work, and he would stand behind me and do nothing, and he would get, sketches handed to him on a gold platter. And I'm scrambling because he has 90 moves, and I have one where I just am sarcastic. So I have to write all these Weekend Update stuff, and he'd be bored behind me just waiting to kill and read through. And he'd go, David, turn around. And I go, dude, I have stuff to do. And he goes, turn around. And I go, if this is Fat Guy in Little Coat, it's not funny anymore. It's over. It's played. And he goes, no, I've new stuff. And then I turn around, and he's got my little Levi jacket on, going, Fat Guy in Little Coat, don't you quit on it. And then we just, it's like, in the movie you go, hey, what if he puts on my coat and does the stupid thing we do at work that's so dumb? And then he sang the song just on the set, just to be funny. And by the way, smart director, smart editor, keep it in. We were doing crap like that all the time, and you're just like, hey, if you guys think that's funny, keep it in. If you don't, you have to lose it, but at least let us try it. And then, they go into a test screening with a couple extra ones like that, and then they go, they kind of work. Let's just keep. You never know what people are going to repeat. You never know. There's lines from Joe Dirt where I go, I got the poo on me where I'm in the shower, and then people will just, Twitter me, I got the poo on me 30 times. And you don't know what things work. So you do all these movies and you try, and then things click. And Grown Ups, it was Maze. And then, and Benchwarmers, it was Amazing and Athlete. And you just lost your spot at Video Spot or wherever,
He's
there's a lot of throwaways.
We could do that. We could definitely do that. Very cool that you guys came out.
Yeah, he's not even in it.
Fritzy's too soft.
Soft.
Where is Fritzy? How you doing, man?
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Pleasure.
How you doing?
Hilarious.
Here you guys keep advertising.
You want to get a picture of this?
Yeah.
Let's get it.
Easy said.
Get a picture. Tina McLovin.
Okay. You're gonna come back. Oh yeah, we'll be here tomorrow morning.
Oh, set. Ready?
You'll come in. Shy. Come on. Don't go hiding up against the truck.
Interactive.
Hilarious.
Hey, what's up?
Oh.
Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
Welcome aboard. This is the Dan Patrick Show.
Bob Costas, the Hall of Fame broadcaster, joining us on the program. Good morning, Bob. How are you? If the Bulls were playing now, would we treat them the same way? Would they be as beloved? Because we tend to chop up everything nowadays. Would they wear out their welcome?
Nothing is fully appreciated anymore. Nothing is. Has there ever been someone better at what he did than Vin Scully? I guarantee you, if they were each 40 years old and plying their trade on national television today, there'd be all kinds of social media sniping at them, you know.
I wonder how they would critique Vin Scully's style now.
It's been a great ride. God has been extremely generous to me.
Hey, cut the poetry, Robert Frost, and give me the balls and strikes.
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave, this is Dan Patrick.
It's hour 2 on this Monday. Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show. Hope you had a great weekend, a safe weekend, best and worst of the weekend. What you saw that you liked, you didn't like. The great Will Ferrell will join us coming up next hour. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we'll check in on the Dallas Cowboys, who have a new quarterback, technically a backup quarterback, but also technically a starting quarterback for the previous 9 seasons. 877-3DP Show, email address dp@danpatrick.com, Twitter handle at DP Show. You can watch on youtube.com/The Dan Patrick Show. Listen on the great radio affiliates around the country, the Fox Sports Radio lineup. And if you want to go into the chat room, Tyler, the moderator, is there. We say good morning to the chat room. The chat room, they're on the clock. They have some opportunities here. They have presented some T-shirt possibilities, and I will let the chat row decide that by Friday, and then we will make up T-shirts for the chat row. That's our locker room. If you go in there, be prepared. They come to play. Poll question, McLevin, what do we have from the first hour?
So I put up, would the Bulls have won 8 straight titles if Michael Jordan never left to play baseball? 65% say yes, they would have won 8 straight.
I don't think they would have. And the reason is I do think Michael Jordan was suffering burnout. When he won his 3rd title and decided to go play baseball, it felt like he needed a break from being Michael Jordan, Air Jordan. And I think baseball allowed him to have a little bit more of that fresh air, hit the reset button, and then he came back with a vengeance to win 3 in a row again. The Knicks were good then. Indiana was still good then. Houston was good then. I think it would have been a little bit tougher for them. You know, they went through Utah, went through Seattle, they went through Phoenix. I think Mike, I just don't think he would have won. He might have won 2 more. I don't think he would have won 3 more after that. I don't think he would have gone 8 for 8. But I do think that he might have ended up with 6. It just wouldn't have been 3 here, 3 there. It might have been 5 in a row and then 1 more after that at some point. But I don't think he would have gone 8 for 8. I do think this took a toll on him because everywhere they went, he was Michael Jordan. He didn't have a night off, didn't take a night off, didn't take a day off from practice. He played hard. I mean, off the court, gambling, playing golf, running a business. I think it was an awful lot that Michael Jordan took on. And I do think that at some point, he was going to hit the wall. Yeah, Paul.
My favorite moment of the documentary last night is they're showing the NBA All-Star game, I think, in Jordan's last year, and they're all hugging and kissing as the game's over, and Gary Payton goes to give him a hug, and Jordan goes, "Hey, man, hopefully see you in the finals." And Gary Payton goes, "Oh, yeah, you guys will be there." He goes, "I'm not talking about us. I know we're going to be there." Because Gary Payton got confused.
I always go back to when we were covering the NBA Finals on SportsCenter. And, you know, the great PR department with the Bulls, they'd always say, look, we're going to tell Michael that you want to have him at least once or twice after wins. And so they came back and they said, Mike said, hey, tell Dan Patrick I'll come on after we win the championship. Not if we win the championship. It was tell him I'll always come on because he was going to come on after, if you win 4, you win the title. I didn't always get him other times. Occasionally you get Mike twice in a series. I'd get Phil Jackson when they would win, but you didn't want somebody. If they lost, you were respectful to them. You would have guys, if Utah won a game, and I'd have Karl Malone or John Stockton come in. It was different back then. And, Michael would always say, tell him I'll come in after we win the championship. And he lived up to that. When they won, he came in and sat down. All right, so that's the poll question. And if you'd like to be involved in that, go ahead. You can vote in that. You can also dial us up as well. Email us. NFL headlines. Andy Dalton is now a Dallas Cowboy. And we'll talk to Tim Calishaw of the Dallas Morning News around the horn about this. Is this more about Andy Dalton, or is it more about Dak Prescott? Is it more about Jerry Jones short-term or long-term, what they're trying to do there? So we'll talk to Tim about that. Will Ferrell will also join us coming up a little bit later on in the program. Every year, NFL writers put out draft report cards. And it's fun to read. You know how I am with mock drafts and grades after the draft. I just sort of look at it with amusement. I try not to get too invested in it. There's a pass-fail grade for every team. And, we do this. This is what it's about after 3 seasons. That's why I always say, after 3 seasons, you're going to know where that player stands with your team, how well your team did in the draft. I know it's not fun. It's not fair. You want us to give you an opinion right away. And it's difficult to do that. Because let's say I look at the 2017 draft. All right, so we're 3 years removed from the 2017 draft. Mitchell Trubisky, Solomon Thomas, Leonard Fournette, Corey Davis, they're not going to be back with their respective teams after this year. Is that a bust? Yes, those are top 5 picks. 4 of the top 5 reportedly didn't have their 5th-year option picked up. I mean, no surprise Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson had theirs picked up, but the Bears with Trubisky, the Niners with Solomon Thomas, who I thought was going to be great, Jags running back Leonard Fournette, who did have a good year last year, Titans receiver Corey Davis, who's going to go up or go down as one of the bigger busts, and this is a wide receiver you're taking in the top, and I think 5th overall. On draft day, we get to see highlights. Everybody looks great. That's why it's called a highlight package. They don't show bad. That's what they should do. Let me just show you how bad this guy can be. Wouldn't that give you a different interpretation of how good they really are? Hey, we tried to find some bad things with this guy. We just couldn't find anything. Today's a good reminder. It's not how the NFL actually works as teams make key decisions for the future of their franchise. And that's why when you look, doesn't it feel like all of those draft picks were great? It felt like every draft. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Oh, I could see, Isaiah Simmons going to be a beat. Oh, CeeDee Lamb with the Cowboys is going to be unbelievable. Clyde Edwards, hilarious. Oh, he's going to work out with the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, we don't know. We think we do. And that's why you have guys who lose their jobs because their job is to assess talent coming out of college. And, most importantly, quarterbacks. Quarterbacks now, wide receivers, and it feels like offensive tackles. Those are really hard to say, I got an idea who's going to be great. And they still haven't gotten down that formula because it's in an inexact science. It really is. But we want grades. Everybody wants grades. I always caution because I think we put too much pressure on. When we have mock drafts, that's pressure you put on those kids. And then when they start to fall, what do we say? Oh, what's wrong with him? It might be you doing the mock draft. That's what's wrong with this. He didn't pick himself. It's not like Aaron Rodgers goes, hey, I'm going to pick myself. He thought he was going 1 overall. Went all the way to the end of the first round. Oh, what's happening to Aaron Rodgers here? No, it's you in your mock draft. Adam Schefter just tweeted, NFL plans to release preseason regular season schedule later this week. One league source said that he doesn't think any international games are coming this year. Yeah, I don't see how that's possible, playing games in London. The Jags just said, thank you. We're good. We don't need to export this quality football here. So they're going to release that next Saturday. They're going to give you preseason. They're going to do the Hall of Fame game. And the NFL, it's just full speed ahead. All right, we'll get to phone calls here. Let me see. Anything else? NBA still looking at a delayed start to the 2021 season. I think if you get games in, then I think you're going to have to look at maybe starting around Christmas. And look, I'm told a lot of things. I ask a lot of questions to a lot of people, and then you just sort of take in the information and you go, okay, does that sync up with what this guy is saying or this guy is saying? I've got some intel on the college football season that I'll have for you coming up a little bit later on what is being talked about right now with the conferences. And you know the conference that is in a lot of trouble. Pac-12. Pac-12 just with travel. And I'll give you some of my information that I got over the weekend about that. How I think they're going to come back and try to play if they're capable. And what's that going to mean to these conferences? I have that for you coming up. Nick in California leads us off this second hour. Hey, Nick, what do you have for me today?
Hey, Dan, 6 foot 155. I want to offer some perspective from someone who's 23 years old about The Last Dance. Okay. It's wonderful. I love being reminded about Michael. My family's from Chicago, so I grew up on Chicago, Michael Jordan legend. But I think the Last Dance for someone my age, it just reminds you of how different the sport was and how different it is now. And we're tired of the debate between Michael and LeBron. You know, we just want to hear Michael was the best then, LeBron can be the best now, and then whoever's next. And I don't think that we really want to engage in the debate. We're kind of tired. It's a different sport almost, how physical it was then to the way it is now.
Yeah, I think those are fair points, Nick. Thank you. But we do love to argue. I mean, when you think about sports, it's about a barroom argument there. When you're sitting down with your boys and you have an opinion, somebody else has an opinion. Then you try to prove right from wrong. We've been doing this. I don't see a comparison with Michael. The closest comparison is Kobe Bryant. We don't allow Kobe into that conversation. We want LeBron in the conversation because LeBron is now... LeBron, for some reason, is polarizing, and Michael can do no wrong. When you're the first man on the moon, nobody... Buzz Aldrin is Buzz... Man, it's nice. Hey, Buzz had a nice career as an astronaut. That's Neil Armstrong. I don't care who it is, you're going to be another man on the moon. I mean, Mike invented the concept. Think of all of that. He invented the concept. Now, you can say LeBron has built his legacy, his brand off of Michael Jordan. Kobe did the same. They all do. And that's why it'll be hard to supplant Michael Jordan as the greatest of all time. I have said this before. I'm guilty of it. I try not to get involved into the conversation or the debate because LeBron is so different from Michael. I'm sure that he aspired to be great like Mike. Wear number 23. He's not Michael Jordan. Kobe was as close to Mike as we'll ever see. He patterned himself. The tongue out, the same side, like everything. He went at Mike. He wanted to learn from Mike. He didn't want to be like Mike. He wanted to be better than Mike. But his perspective was so mature last night where he said, look, you can't compare me to him. He made me. He made me who I am. And I do think that Michael, it's not a coincidence, when LeBron won his title with the Cleveland Cavaliers and Michael decided on that day they were going to do this documentary. That's the competitor, Michael Jordan. They've been asking for years why all of a sudden Michael goes, yeah, this is the year. No, this was the year. This was the moment. All of a sudden, LeBron is starting to move up. And that, I think Michael was saying, there's a whole new generation that's probably going to go, LeBron was great. He's as good as Michael Jordan, my opinion. You're a college kid, and this is what you grew up on. Everybody else, they saw Michael. They saw the finished product. They saw it from start to finish. They saw the jumper to beat Georgetown. They saw it all the way to the Wizards. LeBron, we don't know. If he won this title with the Lakers this year, then all of a sudden, you're getting into a conversation of what is the greatest? How do you define the greatest? I still give guys a whole lot of credit if you make it to the NBA Finals. I don't blame you if you lose. I give you credit. Jerry West is one of my idols. Nobody lost more in the finals than Jerry did, but you can't tell me I'm going to hold that against Jerry West. 1 year, he averaged over 40 a game in the NBA Finals. They lost. But he was there. It's like Brady was there. Oh, he lost. Yeah, he did. LeBron lost. He got there. You can't win if you don't get there. Mike went to 6. Absolutely. 6-0. Spectacular. If Mike was 6-3, would we call him the greatest player of all time? And the answer is probably not. But I would look at it and go, he went to 9. What if you go 9 for 9, but you went 5-4? He's not the greatest of all time. Or you went 4-0. I would go, I look at Montana and Brady. Joe went to 4, was spectacular in 4, didn't throw an interception in any of those Super Bowls. He won all 4. Brady's gone to what? 8 Super Bowls? I've lost track. You're damn good if I've lost track of how many. Yes, Todd.
You consider Elway like the best quarterback. He lost 3 of 5 Super Bowls. He got there 5 times, but under 500 in his far wins.
I just think Elway was ahead of his time. I think he was the greatest quarterback I ever saw. Now, not results-wise, but if Elway went 2-0 and didn't go to the other ones when he lost 3, I look at he took those teams they lost. They got blown out. That doesn't mean he wasn't great. And what Brady was able to go to those, and LeBron to go to the NBA Finals, it's held against him. Mike would never lose. I'd like to see Michael with that Cavaliers team that faced the San Antonio Spurs. That would shut some people up, because look at that Cavaliers team. That team went to the finals against the Spurs. A Spurs team that had, 4 Hall of Famers on it? A Hall of Fame coach? Please. We pick and choose with that. There are a couple of things that stood out. And I wanted to bring one thing here. This is Michael Jordan last night talking about why Isaiah Thomas was not a good fit for the dream team.
I respect Isaiah Thomas's talent. To me, the best point guard of all time is Magic Johnson, and right behind him is Isaiah Thomas. No matter how much I hate him, I respect his game. Now, it was insinuated that I was asking about him, but I never threw his name in there. Dream team, based on the environment and the camaraderie that happened on that team, it was best harmony. Would Isaiah made a different feeling on that team? Yes.
See, that's the honest part here. Isaiah was going to be a buzzkill. Mike wanted to have fun. The gold medal was never in doubt. Mike wanted to have fun. He wanted to go play golf every single day. He wanted to play cards. He wanted to be around his guys, be around his boys. Yes, Eden.
It is funny that he's just like, I didn't like him. Nobody else did either.
I love it.
Larry didn't like him. Magic didn't like him. He's like, everybody had a problem with him.
They didn't. I mean, that's the honest truth. They did not like Isaiah Thomas. And John Stockton was going to just go with the flow. They didn't need John Stockton. They didn't need Isaiah. I could have played for the dream team. They still would have won the gold medal. This is about... All right, Leitner is going to be the guy who does our dirty work. He's going to pick up the bags. We're going to treat him like a rookie. He's a college kid. We're going to rough him up a little bit here. We're going to haze him a little bit. Stockton, hey, you know what? John will be out there, run the offense. We'll be good. Got a guy who loves to pass the ball. Be good. Chuck, he'll have fun, have some quotes. Larry, it'll be great. He and Patrick Ewing developing this friendship. Larry can't play that much. Mully deserves a chance here. Mike doesn't like Clyde Drexler, but, Mike was brutal to Clyde Drexler. So much so, the story I was told is, I'll take a break here. We'll come back here. I'm getting all fired up here. I don't know why.
You're going to slap the floor in a second.
I did almost slap the floor with one hand there. All right, we'll come back. Tim Cowlishaw on the Cowboys bringing in Andy Dalton. Deal or no deal? Big deal, little deal. 20 after the hour. This is the Dan Patrick Show. Check things all the time like your email, Instagram. You got to check something important. Get around to it. Check your credit. Discover makes it quick and easy. Best of all, it's free. Discover's now offering FICO credit scores. The score used by 90% of top lenders, and you get it for free, even if you're not a customer. So what are you waiting for? Checking your score won't hurt your credit, and you can check each month for changes. The Discover Credit Scorecard, free for everyone. Learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. Discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply.
Watching the Last Dance show last night, and they asked Michael Jordan when he's coming out of college which shoe company, so much did he want to go with, but what was his shoe? Everyone has their shoe. And he said he was an Adidas guy, and Adidas was not in great shape back then, and Nike swooped in. If I would have come to you guys, let's say when you're 15, around 15 years old, kind of the peak of your shoe buying existence, what shoe company do you think, not based on money, just of love of the brand, love of the shoe, you would have gone with? I'm going to go first. It's easy for me, Puma. I was a Puma guy. I thought they were comfortable. You could slip them on without lacing them up. And remember, I'm not an athlete per se, so I was just kind of trying to look cool the best I could.
I don't think per se.
Yeah, I can leave out the per se.
Yeah, Adidas Superstars, best shoe ever made.
Would you have signed with Adidas?
Yes.
Even if the money was
yes. I loved Adidas. Still do. I think Adidas, those Adidas Superstars, best shoe, best looking shoe. You could wear it on the floor and dominate. You could wear it off the floor and dominate.
Fritzy.
When I was really little, pro kids, but I got to go Puma Clyde specifically, those blue faux leather ones that when you went into a puddle, your white socks turned blue. Puma Clyde.
Yeah, the suedes. All right, Seton.
I probably would have been one of the only players in the association wearing Vans. There's not a lot of basketball players wearing Vans those days, or these days even.
High top Vans, or would they have been low cut?
Yeah, probably high top Vans. Yeah.
Don't want to turn your ankle there.
You would have considered Doc Martens as your sponsor, Seton?
That would have been press conference would have been all Doc Martens for sure.
McLovin, what do you got?
They showed him last night in the documentary, the Converse Weapon. Either Bird, Jordan. I was a Dr. J fan, but all of them were cool.
Converse Weapons. We're very eclectic here.
Was this Fritzy getting hurt yesterday, Paulie?
Yeah, we were simulating kind of like a bros football game, and Seton went out for a pass, and Fritzy went in for the hit on Seton O'Connor, and this is what happened.
Okay.
So Seton goes across the middle. Todd tackles him and falls upon Seton O'Connor.
I just want to be clear. Todd tackled me. Here.
Okay, so we're watching the video, and then let me see how Fritzy looks when. Oh my God!
Face.
Look at that! Look at that! I'm hurt. I'm hurt.
That wasn't in slow motion. That was regular motion.
Oh, that was? I thought you guys slowed it down.
I fell awkwardly on Seton. Amazingly, all my body weight on him didn't hurt him. He popped right back up, and I have, at best, I have a severely bruised rib cage in my upper left.
Look at that.
You're so soft.
I may have to go for an X-ray
the
after
softest human being on the planet.
It looked like you were just holding him and resting him on the ground.
I got all excited. I started pretending I was like Chris Harris Jr. or Aqib Talib, and I just fell funny on him. And all night last night and this morning, there's just something not right.
It looked like a running hug. It didn't look like a tackle.
I don't know what to do. I'm serious. Like I can't like sneeze or cough. Brushing my teeth hurt this morning. I know it's soft, but I'm just telling you.
Do you think you have a broken rib?
I think.
I mean,
it's
those
possible.
are all the symptoms of having a broken rib.
I hope you do for your sake.
You hope I do.
For your sake.
But I got enough problems. Why would you hope that I have a cracked
That would
rib?
actually make Todd really tough that he had a broken rib right now and he's able
But
to
if
hang
you
in
don't,
there.
You know, Paulie, can we get a doctor here?
Yes, we'll call a doctor. Have
See
him
if
set
we
him
can get a
up.
doctor.
And an
to come
X-ray
in.
machine.
Yeah, we can do that.
I put on the icy hot, which by the way should be hot icy because it starts out hot, and then you get the cold feeling. And I just slathered that all over my chest, and then I took Tylenol.
A subtle reminder that if you did not file a tax return last year and have children under the age of 17, you have to act now to get the $500 economic impact payment per child. We all know there are a lot of people who could use this money during these unprecedented times. So make sure you get it done by tomorrow morning so you can get your payment this year. Go to irs.gov, enter your information in the non-filer tool by tomorrow morning. Just got this statement from the Miami Dolphins. Don Shula was the patriarch of the Miami Dolphins for 50 years. He brought the winning edge to our franchise, put the Dolphins and the city of Miami in the national sports scene. Our deepest thoughts and prayers go out to Mary Ann, along with his children, Dave, Donna, Sharon, Ann, and Mike. Don Shula has passed away at the age of 90. Had the opportunity to play golf with Coach after he retired. This was probably 15 years ago. And he lived off the first tee at Indian Creek Country Club outside of Miami. And it was just fun to see him out of the element. When he coached, he had that look on his face like he was right off of Mount Rushmore. And he was funny and self-deprecating and inquisitive. And it was just, you got to see a coach outside of that coaching world. And it was always one of those moments I cherished because I had such respect for him. He was so tough, but in that moment, playing golf with him, and he said, "I'm not very good." He goes, "I was really good at coaching. I'm not very good at golf." I said, "Coach, I'm not good at either." All right, so Coach Shula passing away at the age of 90. I'll tell you my Clyde Drexler story with Michael Jordan coming up here in a moment. Want to make way for the popular Tim Cowlishaw, Dallas Morning News columnist, ESPN Around the Horn contributor, and Tim kind enough to join us. Tim, let me start with the elephant in the room, or the red elephant in the room, with Andy Dalton. Give me the strategy behind this of bringing in Andrew Dalton as a Cowboys backup.
Why has he got to be the red elephant? Why do you have to go there? No, I mean, I don't think. I think the strategy is fairly simple. They've done this sometimes, bringing in a veteran quarterback. They haven't done it a lot, so that's what has people thinking, "Oh, what's this about?" They've been very lucky. Dak Prescott started 64 games. He's really never come out of a game while it was on the line. His backup the last 2 years, Cooper Rush, threw 3 passes in 2 seasons. And here's Andy Dalton floating around, and he's inexpensive. And so I really think it's injury protection. Now everybody kind of jumps the gun and says, "Well, what if Dak, doesn't come to camp or something?" I really don't think. I don't think there's a single worry about that. Honestly, he's going to make $31 million if he doesn't get a long-term deal. So I really think it's just they've done a better job getting backups at a lot of spots, and here's another one.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was a shot at Dak Prescott or changes the leverage here. To me, I just said, you know what, it's a smart move to bring him in. He's from the Dallas area, doesn't have to uproot his family. And given the fact that you're not going to be able to meet in person, he doesn't have to worry about any of those things with the coronavirus. I just thought, okay, maybe this is something good or something. Guys have to have the mindset of wanting to be a backup quarterback, though, Tim. I think Cam Newton, to me, is not a backup quarterback because he won't allow himself to do that. Andy Dalton is probably saying, what do I need to do? All right, I'll be a backup quarterback. And I think that's why he got in this position here.
I think Andy Dalton's made about $80 million with his time in Cincinnati. He went to the playoffs 4 times, never won a game, but he got the Bengals to the playoffs 4 times. That's something. And he may think of himself as, I can still start for somebody, but I'm okay now at whatever he is, 32, I think.
Yeah.
Being a backup this year. And, if we have anything approaching a normal season, he'll play in preseason games. People will have tape on him. They'll see him surrounded by good offensive talent including the line, running backs, everything, and see what he looks like. So I think, plus, the fact he has a house here. I mean, who doesn't want to come to Dallas, Danny? Let's not mince words here.
I'll go to Austin. All right, I'll leave you in
That's
Dallas.
not a bad pick. We already have a Dan Patrick in Austin.
Oh,
so
yeah, I know. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to stay out of Texas there because he's enough Dan Patrick to go around for an entire state. How's this playing locally that Andy Dalton's in town?
Well, I think locally there is at least a mindset. Oh, there's the leverage. And there are some, because I'll say this, in Dallas, fans historically are never on the player's side when there's a contract situation, maybe on Emmett's side. That would be about the only time after they'd won a Super Bowl. But yet, generally, this is a city where they side with the teams, and now they just see Dak, oh, he must be greedy. He won't sign a long-term deal. So there is a certain, percentage of fans that want to say, okay, Andy Dalton's going to compete with him anyway. I don't think they're bringing him in here to compete with Dak Prescott. I think they're fine playing him if something happens to Dak. But I think most people realize, hey, it's just a good move to cover your backside in case something, there's no guarantee Dak is going to play every game forever.
I was curious with the CD Lamb draft pick because you don't need CD Lamb. He's a nice luxury to have because you already were a team that outscored the opposition by over 100 points. You had a good passing attack here. How surprised were you that CD Lamb was tops on their list?
Well, given that I did a mock draft on Golic and Wingo, they got to me at 17, and I picked CD Lamb that Monday, and I kind of jokingly said, I think it's great to thank you. I think it's great not only to add a good player, but you keep him from becoming a Philadelphia Eagle 4 picks later. That might be some motivation too. I didn't think it would happen. I thought they would take Chase on from LSU, but I don't. If you think he's a receiver who's going to be really good, and these other defensive players are like, you're thinking, okay, they might be pretty good. This guy is going to be good. Why not have 3 of them? There are things with Cooper's contract. They could be done with him in 2 years if they wanted to be. So I think they just said, look, let's just load up. Let's go for 30 points a game and see who can stop us.
Yeah, it feels like, hey, let's be the Kansas City Chiefs of the NFC. We saw this with the greatest show on turf. Teams started to try to emulate the Rams. It's really hard to do it. But it seems like that's what Jerry probably said, hey, why not just add another guy to our 4x100 relay team and let's see if we can do what Kansas City does.
And so I don't blame him for that. I mean, I think everybody thinks he's going to be a talented receiver in this league, whether he's the best receiver in a couple of years or not. I mean, I don't think people realize Michael Gallup last half of last year had 650 yards. He was playing like a 1,300-yard receiver. So they have a lot of weapons. Let's see what they can do with them.
He's Tim Calishaw, Dallas Morning News columnist around the Horn Star, joining us on the program. The NFL is going to release that schedule, looks like, as scheduled this weekend. How surprised are you?
A little surprised, although I think it just goes in line with other things they've done in terms of we need to go ahead. And if we have to change things later, we'll change them. But for now, let's have free agency. Let's have a draft. And let's go ahead. People get unnaturally excited about the NFL schedule, and they love it. So let's give them one more thing we can give them. We don't know if it's going to happen. We have no clue if fans are going to be at any of these games. But for now, this is the plan, and we'll adjust later. I don't think there's harm in it. I think most people recognize the NFL has no guarantees that this is going to come off, but everybody can be a little optimistic, I guess.
Did you cross paths with the Bulls in the 90s? What do you think of this documentary?
I think the documentary is very good. I didn't. I was a Cowboys beat writer the first half and the Stars beat writer the second half, and I became a columnist in the summer of '98, and that's The Last Dance. So actually it was about 2 weeks after that ended. Obviously, I watched him a million times. Rodman came to town later. He was briefly a Maverick, but no, I mean there's a lot of fast.
He's always a Maverick, Tim.
Yes.
He's always going to be a Maverick. But did they do a true documentary on the Cowboys of the 90s?
That's a good point. I mean, there's been different things, nothing this exhaustive, nothing with behind the scenes footage, which would be very dangerous with the Cowboys of the 90s.
Boy, but how
Depends on
good
where
would
those
that
cameras
be
went.
with those personalities, with those egos? If you had that,
Just with number 88, it'd be pretty good.
if there's footage, that it could be incriminating. Well, statute of limitations there.
We saw some of that footage on the news on Sunday nights a lot of times back then.
But just this whole friction between coach and owner.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bulls had the owner and GM on the same page, but they didn't have the coach and the owner on the same page. You had that with Dallas where Jerry and Jimmy didn't get along.
Well, think about this. The Bulls had two Jerrys,
No.
owner and GM. Cowboys had one in those same jobs, and he couldn't get along ultimately very quickly with the coach. So there were some parallels. I mean, success is hard, as you know well, Danny.
I just make it look easy, Timmy. But I think if you start to look at, the Warriors are interesting if you did one of these with Durant involved in it and Draymond Green. Other than that, they're not an interesting team. They play an interesting style.
Right.
I started to think about if you were going to do this in other sports, like what would be the one team in the modern era where you go, now that would be fun.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, you're right. The Warriors off the court would, and I don't think the Patriots. I don't know if there would be enough infighting. It certainly seems like there wasn't, at least until the end. So maybe if you could get some of that, it's hard. You really do have to go back to the Cowboys in the 90s, say, hey, this was a great team, but off the field, look at what the hell happened. Who else would ever have win back-to-back Super Bowls and then the coach is out?
I know.
mean, that would never happen anywhere else.
And then Barry Switzer gets credit for.
Yes, for the third.
It's like John Gruden gets credit for Tony Dungy's Super Bowl in Tampa.
But John Gruden beat his own team, so that was that's very confusing.
Well,
that one.
Well, he knew they didn't change the audibles there. I love that Rich Gannon, like John knew every call that they were making there.
That helped.
Well, you know what? Shaq and Kobe, the Lakers would have been interesting.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that would have been some, but it was really those two. And then Phil's job of sort of being lifeguard in the deep end.
Yeah, you're right.
And then Jeannie Buss and his relationship with Jeannie Buss, and you could get something out of there.
You got something.
What do you got planned today?
Well, once this is over, not a lot, Dan. I am going to write a column. That's not true. I'll do 3 hours of local radio. We will talk Andy Dalton.
Why do you have a collared shirt on?
I like to dress for breakfast around here, Dan. It's
do you have pants on?
John McEnroe appreciates it when I get dressed up. So,
do you have pants on?
I have pajamas.
I'll give you $100. I'll give you $100 if you stand up.
$100. Well, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah,
those are your pajamas.
The nice flannel look.
Look hot. You look hot, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hey, let's do this again. I mean, I'm around here for you if you need.
I'm here.
I know.
And I put up a light for you. I don't know if you can tell.
Is that what that is?
I set up the ESPN light. See if I lean this way. There's a.
Oh, I see it. I see the reflection there.
I did a little work to get this stage set up.
No. Hey, makes you look really good. Your eyes are popping.
Everything's popping.
Yeah, they are. Well, good luck today. Thank you, Tim. he just froze. He just turned off his light there. Thank you, Tim. Let me get a couple of phone calls in here. We'll take a break. Jeff in St. Louis. Jeff, thanks for holding. What do you have for me today?
Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, Jeff.
Can I do my best and worst of the weekend?
All right.
My best, I'm going to have to go with William Byron on that virtual NASCAR, winning 3 out of the first 4 races. He's only 22.
Yeah.
And your opinion on how they're going to manage to put 7 races starting May 17th on NASCAR Live in 10 races?
Oh, they're going to go, everybody flies private, and, they're not going to have fans there. I mean, it's not in my wheelhouse to know what NASCAR is doing here, but you're just not going to have fans in the stands. Yeah. Carl in Arizona. Hey, Carl.
Hey, Dan. A very good morning to you and all the crew. A best and better of the weekend best.
Okay.
Very impressed with how the documentary The Last Dance incorporated the up-and-coming Tony Kukoc into that. I think a lot of people were looking at the Dream Team and you'd say, oh, cool, they ran Angola by 70. That's the usual broken record narrative to play out. They didn't go that route. They brought up Tony Kukoc coming from a war-torn Yugoslavia, and I thought that was a very nice touch to it. The better of all this is I was 7 growing up in Chicago, and I remember that interview with Ahmad Rashad with Jordan wearing the shades.
Oh,
and
so
I
bad.
couldn't grasp it. You see, I couldn't grasp it. I'm 34 now. I rewatched it, and I urge a lot of people to rewatch it because it was a very transparent, tired, and vulnerable Jordan. Lastly, I just want to know this for the poll question, McLovin. Over under 12 installments of The Master of the Midway when Aaron Rodgers eventually goes to Chicago when they do that documentary. That can be over under 12 installments.
Thank you, Carl. I don't need to have, be deluged with documentaries here.
Everyone's got one.
Yeah, I got one now.
The Chicago Bears Vince Evans story, Dan.
Yeah.
I've been pushing for that for the years.
Yeah. The Quincy Carter documentary with the Dallas Cowboys. We'll give you our best and worst of the week, and I'll give you this Clyde Drexler Dream Team story with Michael. More phone calls as well. Will Ferrell will join us coming up. Final hour of the program. We'll take a break. Back after this on the Dan Patrick Show. If Jordan is the best player you played against, is that right? Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did play against Jordan.
Okay. The
Sure.
second best player you played against is who?
I did play against Kobe Bryant and LeBron James. So, I mean, I think right there, I don't really have an order. I mean, I can think MJ's there, and then you have Kobe, and probably the second best player than LeBron. I mean, it's hard to pick players for me personally because I'm still playing against those guys, and then, I just, once they're done playing or I'm done playing, then I can really add other players, current players.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to stick with LeBron. I'm going to stick with Mike and then Kobe.
Kobe wanted to kill you, right? He wanted to kill everybody.
Absolutely. And we played together, and I think the level of competition and respect, I think the respect you show players particularly back in that day, was not giving them any respect at all. And that's how you understood. That's what made great basketball, first of all. And you knew when you played Kobe, whether you weren't having a great day, weren't feeling well, you better figure it out because he was going to be in attack mode on both ends, and I mean, he made for great basketball. I think the same thing was with MJ. I don't care how old he was. He was still putting up numbers, and for as many players like myself, young guys, Kobe, everybody, Stack, all of the guards, T-Mac, everybody who wanted that opportunity to really make their mark on MJ. It wasn't as easy as you thought. And he was 40. I mean, I don't know if you remember the play. He caught Ron Mercer's layup off the glass, 2 hands off the backboard. It was just amazing to see. And it was just a great challenge. And I can say that I've played against the elite of the elite in Michael Jordan. I mean, I don't know if you remember All-Star Atlanta, his last All-Star game. I was a starting guard, and I had a brief I don't want to call it argument, but we were just talking about, hey, Mike, this is your last All-Star game. You're starting. No questions asked. And, Mike was like, hey, man, you earned it. You go ahead. I was like, man, you're not getting me blackballed from the NBA. And it was just great to be. I mean, it was a great moment to be a part of, though, because that's like a piece of history for me. We remember the unbelievable fadeaway that I felt that we should have ended the game right there that he hit over Sean Marion, on his last All-Star game. But I mean, it was just great to be a part of.
Okay, but wait a minute.
To be in a situation to do that.
If Mike went to NC State or Duke instead of North Carolina,
I mean, he still would be the greatest.
Okay,
you just look at him different. You still look at him different.
But would you have given him your starting role in the All-Star game if he was a Dookie?
Still.
Okay, all right.
Well, you have to because, I mean, his body of work and the pedestal that he stands on demands it.
All right, here's the question. I'll leave you with this.
Mm-hmm.
The greatest slam dunker in North Carolina history is?
In North Carolina? Oh, yeah, I'll take that. You can't give MJ everything, man. Golly.
He's got everything else. No, you're
got everything else.
Yeah.
Let me borrow that.
Yeah.
He's right there. I mean, like I said, just walking, into that gym. That's one of the things that I think every Carolina player will say this. But walking in the gym, of course, the first person I think every person looks for is MJ, and we know what he did in college, and of course in the NBA, and his ability to dunk. So I said, I might not end up being the greatest player or as good as him, but there's something that I can do that can kind of have people thinking, hey, maybe. And so that dunk contest was one of the things that, I made my mark for. I studied, and we've talked about this, I think, a lot of times in person and on the phone. It's just the dunk contest was kind of like my moment in time where I said, I want to shock the world and wow the crowd for years to come. I just didn't know it's have its effect like it's had, and I'm thankful for it.
Once again, Don Shula has passed away at the age of 90. He has 328 career wins. And to put that into perspective, at least try to, Bill Belichick is third on the list with 273 wins. So he's got to coach at least 5 more seasons, averaging 11 wins per year in order to tie Don Shula. But Don Shula, one of the great coaches, legendary coaches, passing away at the age of 90. I've been teasing this Clyde Drexler story. I don't know if it's good enough to keep teasing it, but I'll give it to you.
Our Portland affiliate is just on pins and needles.
Yeah, okay. Now, this comes from a reliable source here that when Clyde Drexler was on the Dream Team with Michael Jordan, and Jordan was relentless. He was brutal to Clyde Drexler because Clyde Drexler was being told that he was better than Michael Jordan at the time. And, of course, you had the NBA Finals when, Michael hit those 6 threes. That was in Game 1 of the 92 Finals. And he did that in the first half. He never made more than 4 3-pointers in a game, in a playoff game after that. So he had 6 in the first quarter because he wanted to say to Clyde Drexler, oh, you think you're better than me or as good as me? So he sends him a nice little message. So that you then have the Dream Team. Drexler, from what I'm told, shows up at practice one day with 2 left shoes. And Jordan and Barkley, they were all over him. He said, hey, I was getting dressed in the dark, and he showed up with 2 left shoes. And Jordan was just brutal on him. And then I think Clyde had to borrow one of Larry Bird's shoes because he had 2 left shoes. And plus, they refused to let him off the hook. Mike was brutal to him. He really was. I was wondering about this, too. We talk about how, Michael with what he did, and he went 6-0. And I always come back to say, look, LeBron got there. And, the cast of characters he took, that first team that lost to the Spurs, if I took Michael's team that he had when he first got there in Cleveland or in Chicago, he's not getting to the NBA Finals. LeBron got to the NBA Finals with that team that didn't have anywhere near another star on it. And it's one of the more amazing things that LeBron did. I know he went to the Heat to get a couple of titles, came back to Cleveland. He had Kyrie, he had a better team, better all-around team. But if you look back, that team that he took to the NBA Finals that lost to the Spurs, and that Spurs team was loaded. LeBron had no chance there. So I don't hold it against him. Every time you lose a championship, I don't say, oh, that's a negative. It should be a positive. Used to be when you lost the Super Bowl, when the Broncos would get blown out, they weren't the second best team in the NFL. It felt like they went to the bottom of the list, like, oh, God, you guys got blown out by Washington. They got there. The Buffalo Bills went to 4 straight. Now, could they have prepared better? Maybe been more professional? Yeah. But they went to 4 consecutive Super Bowls, which will never happen again. Now, they lost. But that's a negative. Everything about that is a negative. And it shouldn't be. Let me see. Jeff in Detroit's back with us. Good morning, Jeff.
Oh, what's going on, Dan? What up, though? One time for Chat Row. As I'm sitting here thinking of what my worst is, it's actually you, sir. You had me thinking that I was going to be able to not watch that Jordan documentary and just put it out of my mind and say no. But after your awesome interviewing skills and the way that you broke it down with Dude earlier, I guess I got to watch it now. I really do, man. I hate that I got to, but that was a really good interview, Dan. Seriously.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate the phone call. You may not like it as a Pistons fan, but it is fascinating. It really is. And Jason Hare was great. That interview was great. If you missed that or any of the interviews, go to Dan Patrick Show app. But just giving you stuff behind the scenes. The fact that John Stockton, and John Stockton was difficult to have. He would never sit down and do an interview. And it took us years to have him on this show. Now, I did get to interview him that NBA Finals in Utah. He would not do an interview with NBC. He would not do an interview with Jim Gray. He did not want to talk. All he wanted to do was play. And the PR person from the Utah Jazz, who was great with me, and he said, look, John says he'll do an interview with you. I'm on SportsCenter. NBC's carrying the NBA Finals. And John did an interview. And we got done with that interview. NBC got wind of it. And next thing I know, Jim Gray's saying, hey, he's got to sit down with me. And John said, nope, not doing it. He would pick and choose. And the fact that he said to the director, I'm not going to be part of a puff piece on Michael Jordan. I love that. I applaud John Stockton for saying that. I'm not going to be a part of a puff piece here. Not exactly a puff piece, but Stockton's like, no, this is not what I do now, is sit around and tell people how great Michael Jordan was. That's good stuff, though. Let me see. How about Greg in Illinois? Hey, Greg.
Hey, what up, DP?
Hey, man.
Quick question for you, or possible final hour poll question. What do you think is more difficult, the rough style of play MJ faced or the microscope of social media that LeBron faces today? Thanks.
Oh, I think it still comes down to playing. You know, playing takes care of everything, it feels like. And if you play great, I mean, the reason why Michael became a worldwide brand was because his team won. Like, he was great, you know, and then you have this Nike brand there. Social media roughs up LeBron. But when he wins, you know, even then it's hard to rough him up. But, you know, Michael would have had problems with social media, but I think it would have inspired him. It would have made him even tougher, meaner, hungrier. More phone calls coming up, our best and worst, and Will Ferrell stops by. Seton, you ready for your shower shame?
Sure.
All right, I got to walk over on the other side. And McLovin's got to get up on the ladder. So Seton lost 2 bets last night. And McLovin has the mystery bucket number 1. I have mystery bucket number 2.
Dude.
Well,
you were something else.
Okay. So are we ready? McLovin on the ladder. You're ready to go.
Which
You're going
liquid
first. You're absolutely you.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Now there could be spillage, and here we go in 3, 2, 1.
Oh. Oh no.
Oh.
Is that a cherry? Is that blueberries? Dan, what is that?
It looks like cherry.
That's blueberries.
Blueberries.
And some chocolate powder.
Delicious.
And then you have the whipped cream.
Oh, there's a cherry.
No, you put the whipped cream and then you put the cherries on. No, you don't. No.
Doesn't that look
All right,
delicious?
okay, there you go. Now you can, if you'd like to have some of the whipped cream and berries, Paulie's got a spoon as he's
That's fantastic.
taking a bite.
Those are very fresh.
It's a little chilly. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Oh,
it's so goopy.
It's really not. It's really. You want a bite?
That
looks very. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a double dose there.
Smells really good.
Showers of shame. Yeah. Now the boys in the back decided they wanted the chocolate powder on it. The
We have more.
Nestle's powder there. Yeah. Yeah.
You can barely breathe over here. There's so much cocoa in the air, Dan. It's everywhere.
Someone's gonna stay a little.
It looks like a Nickelodeon birthday party show in here.
Yeah.
Seton's lungs must have taken in more hot cocoa powder.
Well, I was worried that he was going to have his mouth open. I wanted to make sure his eyes were closed because I was going to have that powder I was going to douse him with. Yes, Fritz.
It should be stated what a huge sport he is. He's Seton's taken the brunt of some really thick, nasty stuff in recent weeks.
Yeah,
It's pretty good.
Why don't you try it sometime, Todd?
Those are fresh blueberries.
Yeah.
Those are not frozen.
Oh, no, I said if you're going to get blueberries,
Yeah.
make
Are they
sure
organic,
that they're fresh. Yeah, organic. That you want fresh berries there. And then we had some whipped cream.
You churned
cherries.
that cream this morning, right? You
Yes,
were
I
up
did.
early?
Yes, I did. On my farm, I was churning that cream. McLovin, have you ever done a sundae? Don't you know?
Sorry, the cherry on top. That's where that expression comes from.
McLovin put the cherry on top and then put the whipped cream on top of that.
You don't understand. When you're administering a shower shame, you're on a high wire. It's tough work.
No, you're on a ladder is what you're on.
It's gonna take 6 months to get the cocoa out of the air here. It's everywhere on this side of the glass.
Oh, look at you being a director. Music under. Tyler kicked Dylan out of his seat. So Tyler, the moderator, is over here. Dylan is all the way over in timeout range. You can't even make it on the camera. Oh, man, you had a good career, Dill. Yeah, but Tyler came in and said, I get that chair or I'm leaving. Oh, is it C-O-O-K-I-E? Who's got a cookie? Who would like a cookie? Who would? Come here. Here we go. Sit. Give me the paw. Good girl. Give me another paw. Good girl. Good girl. Yes. See you later. Go take your nap. Buckle up, boys. Time to go to work.
Welcome aboard. This is the Dan Patrick Show.
Bob Costas, the Hall of Fame broadcaster, joining us on the program. Good morning, Bob. How are you? If the Bulls were playing now, would we treat them the same way? Would they be as beloved? Because we tend to chop up everything nowadays. Would they wear out their welcome?
Nothing is fully appreciated anymore. Nothing is. Has there ever been someone better at what he did than Vin Scully? I guarantee you, if they were each 40 years old and plying their trade on national television today, there'd be all kinds of social media sniping at them, you know.
I wonder how they would critique Vin Scully's style now.
It's been a great ride. God has been extremely generous to me.
Hey, cut the poetry, Robert Frost, and give me the balls and strikes.
Broadcasting from the Mercedes Man Cave, this is Dan Patrick.
Final hour on this Monday, Dan and the Danettes, Dan Patrick Show, our best and worst of the weekend. More of your phone calls. Will Ferrell will stop by a little bit later on. The headlines, Don Shula, the great patriarch of the Miami Dolphins, has passed away at the age of 90. Andy Dalton signs with the Dallas Cowboys. The NFL is going to have their schedule released on time coming up next weekend. And the NBA looking at a delayed start to next season. I think if you're able to get the playoffs, you're going to have a few regular season games. This is if it happens. You're going to have a few regular season games, and then you go into the postseason. May not be the best of 7, maybe a best of 3 to start, maybe a best of 5, then a best of 7. But from what I was told over the weekend, probably then you would start the season next year around Christmas time. Now, these are just things that are being thrown out. These are people who are involved in conversations here, and it feels like everything is on the table. But those are just some of the headlines here. I was telling Paulie I'm paying somebody to redo a 1973 RS Porsche, and I had settled on this color, stone gray. And all of a sudden, over the weekend, I changed it.
See, I really liked your stone gray idea when you told me about it a couple months ago, because you see Porsches and there's a lot of red and black, and you don't. That's an original color. It's cool.
It is. It looks beautiful, and we only started to paint a little bit of the car, like inside where the engine is. We pulled the engine and painted just a little bit. And I said to the guy who's doing all the work, I said, you know what? I want to change the color. And he said, what do you want to go with? And I said, Viper Green.
What is Viper Green?
Well, if you Google Viper Green. Now, the thing that I don't like about it is that it's a notice me color. It's like the guy who has the red Ferrari. Like, this is Viper Green, and this is, here it comes. Yeah, Paulie.
Viper Green, to put it in perspective for people listening, would be like the color of a popsicle. Like you took it out of the can. It's bright green, not forest green. It's not.
No.
It's closer to like a limey green.
Yeah, it's Viper Green. So I'm redoing a 1973 RS. Oh, Paulie gave the thumbs down to Viper Green.
I hate to tell you this, Dan. I don't know.
It's okay. It's okay. It's pretty stunning on a Porsche. But did you guys Google Viper Green? Seaton, you're giggling.
Well, not to rain on anyone's parade here, but so far I think you're 0 for 2 on the
Okay.
colors.
All right. Yes, Paul?
I did find a picture of one, and I see a done one, and it has a kind of 70s cool. Brad Pitt would be driving it in that movie with Tarantino.
Once Upon a Time.
Yeah, he might be driving in that movie.
All right.
Maybe. So I'm.
Okay. McLovin?
It'd be cool. Are you going to add a big decal logo of a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle on the side too?
Okay. All right.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Shots fired. Got it.
No, it's super cool. I think is this like a Gone in 60 Seconds, Fast and Furious inspiration?
Yeah.
Because they have a lot of those.
Well, I do love both of those movies. I love the Fast and Furious franchise, and I love Gone in 60 Seconds. Oh, Mr. Car Guy Todd.
I'm all in on the Viper. You may change your mind now because of that. I'm in.
Oh, I don't care about the front row. No, they
but
can have their opinion.
there's already a certain amount of attention attached to look at me, I have a Porsche, so you might as well go all in and go with a wacky color to get even more attention on
I
it.
don't know if it's wacky.
Wacky's a tough word.
I don't know if it's
Wacky in a good way.
Wacky.
Whack, whack. No.
Wacky in a good way.
Wacky like wild, throw caution to the wind. Just check out
Horrendous
my
in a good
bright
way.
green car.
Putrid, but in a good way.
Wacky and putrid and horrendous are not synonyms.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you.
Have you committed to this color?
I haven't. We haven't bought the paint yet.
God, that gray sounded so nice.
It's stone gray. I know. And it's not a midlife crisis. I already went through that.
And this paint isn't cheap. You know, like this paint color. Not. You know,
No, it's Viper green, baby. Come get some. And got houndstooth interior, black and white with the insert of the seats. And
you mean like Alabama, like Bear Bryant?
But black and white.
Oh.
Yeah. And then the Porsche decal on the side is black. Yeah, it's Viper green. In fact, if you're watching on youtube.com/The Dan Patrick Show, inside the Bengals helmet, now see that color, the next color, Paulie, that's Viper green inside Andy Dalton's helmet right there. If you're not watching, then you have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. Okay. So there you have it.
We'll keep people updated.
Viper.
Right?
Well, I told people I would, that it's Viper green. It's a 73 RS. For gearheads out there, they're going to understand it. They'll appreciate it. And they'll say, all right, that's badass, man. Badass. All right, let's go around the room. Best and worst of the weekend. I'm going to start with Todd. The wacky Todd Fritz. Hey, Todd.
My best of the weekend, I'm going off the sports board. I went on a nice 5-mile walk with my daughter, Lindsay, and she kept me moving at a good pace. So God bless her, trying to, get me to get into some kind of shape. She was going really fast, so I had to step up my walking game. So I got in a nice 5 miles over the weekend. Worst, former A's pitcher Matt Keogh passing away at the age of 64. That was sad. Remember watching him pitch and having his baseball card.
Thank you, Todd. Took a pandemic for Todd to try to get in shape. McLovin.
Okay, I finally watched the movie Contagion, which we've talked about before. Dude. And man, they really nailed everything. All the terms that we use now were in that movie. Worst is it was so depressing. I couldn't sleep afterwards.
I started watching Better Call Saul. I finally said, all right, I got to dive in here. There's enough time in between Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul that there's some separation there that I'm not going to compare the two, and it's really well done. Yeah, Bob Odenkirk does a wonderful job, and I was told second season of Better Call Saul, it gets better as you go along, and they're right. Better Call Saul has been great. Seton O'Connor Jr. III, best and worst of the weekend.
My best of the weekend was watching everybody during The Last Dance try and pronounce Tony Kukoc's name.
How many different pronunciations did they have of Tony Kukoc?
It's like everybody who they brought on there had a different with the Kukoc, the Cockchooch, like whatever. Like they couldn't figure out his name. It was so funny.
Even when he was drafted,
he's just getting crushed.
Even when he was drafted, I don't think they pronounced his name correctly.
Yeah. My worst of the weekend is still staying with The Last Dance, but man, they didn't do Horace Grant any favors, huh?
Don't you get the feeling Horace Grant was jettisoned because he might have been the leak for Sam Smith's the Jordan rules?
Yeah.
You're
like, no, it wasn't me. I was probably a lot of people probably said something.
All I know is somebody was a great source for that book for Sam Smith, and I was surprised Jordan allowed Sam Smith, who legendary basketball writer in Chicago, legendary, and that he allowed Sam Smith to be in the documentary. Peter Vesey, who covered the NBA and really had one of those quintessential columns, he created this form, and he did it in such a caustic way, like he was sardonic, he was sarcastic, and he did this, great column. And then he started doing NBC, covering the NBA Finals. He did interviews. But Vesey was not part of the Jordan documentary. And I don't know if that's because he and Mike didn't get along, but I'm sure that Peter Vesey would have had some stories to tell. Maybe that's why they didn't have him. Yeah. Hey, I was disappointed I wasn't asked to be in it. to be transparent. Yeah, I was. I was really disappointed. And I didn't go, well, let me see who else is being interviewed. I'm sure that, Jason Hare, who's done a great job as the director, they're getting all of these people, and there's over 100 people. I mean, I haven't had any conversation, any friction with Michael Jordan, never had it. We had what I thought was a great relationship, professional relationship. And plus, nobody did more Jordan highlights than I did. In the 90s, nobody. Did them all. And I would have thought that just some of the stories behind the scenes, during those NBA finals, that maybe they would have made air. But yeah, I was disappointed that I didn't get that opportunity because I specifically said to management, I want to be the person interviewing Michael Jordan every year. And I looked at it that way. I was seeing something that was historical, and I wanted to be part of it. I knew the magic that I was seeing, and it was going to continue. And then even when Mike went to play baseball, I stayed on still doing the Houston Rockets and loved every bit of that. That Rockets organization, Hakeem Olajuwon's one of my favorite players of all time. They had really good people. That city loved the Rockets. That was a lot of fun there, back to back. And then Michael came back. I was there when Michael retired, did an interview with SportsCenter with him. So I was around it a lot, but I was disappointed I didn't get that opportunity. Yeah, Paul.
Did you notice, I think you interviewed Jordan after every finals, correct?
Yeah.
Did you notice, and it may be hindsight, but did you notice changes as him, good, bad, whatever, as it went along, or was he a consistent figure?
I think he looked forward, according to the Bulls, he looked forward to it because it wasn't going to be just X's and O's. It was a chance for him to smile and have some fun with this. Because I challenged him in a different way. And, what you're trying to do is just get him to tell stories or I wanted him to give you something he wasn't going to give guys in the press conferences because that's a very sterile environment. When you get somebody one-on-one, that's when you hope that you can get something out of it. And that was always my goal with him. But I always felt when he came in, even after, it was all over in Utah, there was some finality to him that this was it. He was walking out the door in our SportsCenter set, and that was it. I was not going to see him in this environment after winning a championship again. Phil, I thought that I would see him again, and of course I ended up, obviously, with the Lakers. But Michael, I thought Mike was going to walk out the door, and that'd be it. I'd never be in that position, that situation again. Yeah, Paul.
I heard Michael Wilbon talking the other day on ESPN, and he said, even though he heard Jerry Krause say, we're not bringing him back, and Michael Jordan say, if Phil's not there, I'm not coming back, Wilbon said he must have been in denial because it made no sense for them to stop. Like, it made no sense for this team that was rolling over people to quit a year early for money reasons. You're making so much more than you're spending. I'm sure the Bulls, marketing machine and revenue was just out of hand.
But what were you going to have to pay Pippen?
Who cares? I know you got to pay him for 7 years.
I know. But that, Pippen ended up going and playing in Portland and Houston and made most of his money. I don't think he was ever an All-Star game, or in an All-Star game. I don't think he was ever an All-Star. But you were going to have to spend some money there, and you're already paying Mike 30-something million, and you're going to have to do that again. I just think that they were trying to be fiscally responsible, not being emotional. Because in the moment, you're going, and I remember after Michael came in and I sat down and interviewed him, Phil Jackson then was waiting, and I interviewed him. And when he left, I realized it was done. And I wanted it to continue. I mean, I'm all for seeing a dynasty because of how hard it is to continue. And I thought, God, that's it. And I went out into the arena after it was all said and done. There was nobody there. There was a bunch of debris, and, there's a couple people cleaning up. And I just took it all in. And I just stared at the hoop that Michael made the shot at. I just stared at it. It was like a moment Phil would have been proud of me because it was a moment of zen. I just wanted to take it in because I thought, I'll never see this again. Somebody will do something that's different, but not like this. And I never, ever looked at this and said, this has become routine. Never. There was always something Always, every year, every series, every championship. It was just different. It was unique. But the common thread was Michael Jordan. But yeah, I walked out on the floor and I just took it in. And then you wonder, Mike, if he doesn't make the shot. Like I always wondered about if he didn't. He always did. But, if he's 5-1, if Utah wins a title, like if Paxson doesn't hit the shot, then Phoenix has a game 7. Like there are just so many moments there where you go, what if? I thought that the Indiana Pacers were going to knock off the Bulls that year. I thought the Pacers were a really good team and probably should have beaten them. But every time you thought, if Mike doesn't make the steal on Karl Malone, if he doesn't make that shot, what do we think of Michael Jordan now? If he's 4-2, he's not the best player of all time. He's not. 6-0, best player of all time. And I know people try to put in Bill Russell. Bill Russell is the best team winner of all time. And he's the most successful, but that doesn't make him the best player. He's the most successful player of all time. And I know that, it gets to semantics. It's like Aaron Rodgers is the most talented quarterback to play the position. All right. Bill Russell is the greatest team winner we've ever seen. Okay. That doesn't make him, Yogi Berra is one of the great team winners of all time in baseball history. Doesn't mean he's one of the great players of all time. His name is never mentioned as one of the great players of all time. Fabulous career, great stats. We deal with semantics a lot. This guy is the most talented quarterback I've ever seen. John Elway was, 2-3 in Super Bowls, so he won 2 of 5. All right. Does that mean that Tom Brady's better than him? More successful? I don't think he's better. I think he's more successful. Joe Montana, perfect, 4-0. I think Dan Marino's a better quarterback than Joe Montana. Joe's more successful. Yeah, Paul.
Imagine if Dan Marino was 2-0 in the Super Bowl and John Elway didn't have any. Dan Marino would be so elevated because people still, with no Super Bowl titles, still people say Marino is, if not the best passer of all time, top 3 or 4 at worst.
Yeah.
They can't say best career.
Caleb in Portland joins us. Hey, Caleb, welcome to the program.
Hey, Dan, 5'10", stop counting. Just want to call in with best, worst of the weekend. I'll start with the worst. For the first half of the weekend, the wife is still on pelvic rest, doctor's order. Good news, second half of the weekend, she was no longer on pelvic rest, so we had our own last dance going on. And then we also had our baby shower via Zoom, and I was rocking my Tampa Bay shirt.
Oh, that's great, Caleb. Thank you. I appreciate that. Seth in New Orleans, then we'll take a break. Will Ferrell set to join us coming up. Hey, Seth.
Hey, Dan. 5'9", pre-quarantine, 146, down 171 and counting. Yeah. I wanted to ask you guys, I know you couldn't have the exact same situation, but I moved in with my girlfriend Jessica like a week before quarantine. And then, boom, quarantine happens. And so far, it's going really well. I'm just terrified that there's another shoe to drop. Do you have any advice for me to keep this smooth sailing?
Wait, how long had you been dating her before she moved in?
Well, we were dating for about a year, but we only moved in together a week before.
Oh, boy. I hate giving out advice. But, as I said to one of my daughters, who she had been dating her boyfriend for a month, and then she went to L.A. for a wedding, and then she got out there, and I said, you can't come back to New York, where she lives. So they're at his parents' for 6 weeks. She's been at his parents' longer than she dated him before going out there.
It's like a common law marriage.
Yes. And so I FaceTime her all the time, and I've met, his parents, via, FaceTime. So it's kind of crazy there. And I said it's either going to be really good, Seth, or really bad. But you're going to know it when this is all done. When I talk to you in June, you know what? Call me in mid-June, Seth, and let me know how you're doing, okay?
You got it, but you sure nobody there's had to deal with a relationship in a quarantine at all?
No, we weren't alive during the Spanish flu here, Seth.
Damn it! Come on, man.
Thank you.
I need something here.
All right. Yes, Paul.
I don't know if my great grandparents hooked up during a pandemic in 2009, but I'll check.
Yeah. Hey, you got any, quarantine advice for me? No.
Nobody does.
No. Hell, I'm trying to figure this out just like you are. All righty. Speaking of which, Will Ferrell will join us coming up next. It's 21 after the hour. This is the Dan Patrick Show. Check out your credit score, and you can do it courtesy of Discover. And it's quick, it's easy, and best of all, it's free, even if you're not a customer. Discover is offering the opportunity to check out your FICO credit scores. That's the score used by 90% of top lenders, and you can do so for free, even if you're not a customer. Checking your score won't hurt your credit, and you can check each month for changes. The Discover Credit Scorecard is free for everyone. You can learn more at discover.com/credit scorecard. And when you think about all the things you're checking, your email, your Instagram, text messaging, check out your credit score. Discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply. If you look at toughness as far as TV, movies, or stage, the order of difficulty.
Doing a Broadway play, I was lucky enough to do Glengarry with Al Pacino and Bobby Cannavale about, when was Sandy? 4 years ago? So we were there when Sandy happened and the hurricane, and that's the hardest thing.
How was, like, when you were there with Pacino, how is it different? Like,
no, because I had gotten a little Al love down in Miami because we did Any Given Sunday together.
Oh, that's right.
Which is, I think, why I was in Glengarry. And so I had already, Johnny Cusack, who's my dear friend and a big fan of yours, told me, and they had done City Hall together 10 years prior to Any Given Sunday. And I said to Johnny, what do I do about Al Pacino when I get down to Miami? And he goes, got to go knock on his door. And I'm like, this feels like the biggest setup of all time. Because then Gino comes out and punches me in the esophagus. And I'm like, I would just wanted to meet Al. And so I go, this is not a setup, right? And he goes, no. And so we're down in Miami, and it was a very dispersed set with a lot of stars. And I happened to be near Al's trailer, and I went over and knocked on it. And he was just like, John C., come in. This would be great. I've been wanting to talk to you. And I'm like, you're calling me John C., and you're saying you've been wanting to talk to me? Okay.
Yeah.
And so I called Johnny back, and I said, yeah, that was a win.
What's
Gavin Newsom, Leonard Fournette.
Having a nice relationship with that sand trap over there.
You have a nice
there you
relationship
go.
with that sand trap.
Dial that in.
You really?
He would have hit you right in the face.
I can't believe you really just did that.
Hey, and I hit it straight.
See how he did?
Punch out?
I hit it straight.
You nailed that chip.
I can't believe you actually swung the club on that.
Fritzy, you bent at the waist. That was pretty cool.
What was going on? I was like, I did my first sit-up.
You
So it's
bent
like
at the waist. See, that's
96.
necessary.
That's
They're
definitely
firing golf
unnecessary.
balls at your
I almost
face,
got
and
hit
he's
in the
making
head,
fun of your
You want
lack
to
of mobility.
You guys
wanna
gang
see
up
that?
on people.
See that back there?
So it's a
You
bullying.
put that right on the screw.
Yeah, I was pretty proud of myself. Yeah. Almost took Fritzy's head off there. I hit a shank on the simulator, and then Fritzy making fun of me.
Make a little sand trap joke, and I don't think how that equates to you almost giving me a concussion with a golf ball.
I don't know if I was almost giving you a concussion.
That would have hit me in the head?
I mean, I almost killed you, but I was not giving you a concussion. I was going for the kill. So, I turned around on the golf simulator and I just fired a shot at Fritzy, and he ducked down, went over his head.
You were,
Dude, did you just see the video?
You would have hit
No.
him directly in the face.
Let me see where that ball goes.
You would have hit him right in the face.
All right. Okay, let me see. I would have gotten you in the temple.
That's a great ad for these Callaway chippers. You know?
Yeah, these pitching range.
Unparalleled accuracy.
Yeah. You learned a lesson, didn't you, Todd?
Sure did.
Yeah.
Keep my mouth
Yeah,
shut.
keep your mouth shut while I'm on the simulator. All right. More phone calls coming up. 877-3DP show. You'd think Will Ferrell would be technically savvy. Or maybe you wouldn't think he would be technically savvy. I got all walks of life who somehow can set up a Zoom chat, but not Will Ferrell. Actor, comedian, former Saturday Night Live cast member, all-around good guy. You can see us, but we can't see you. That's creepy, Will.
Yep. That's the way I do all my Zooms. Oh no, my computer's working just fine.
Why can't I see you?
I don't know. As I mentioned before, well, in an email that my Zoom ratio is 50-50. So a lot of times this happens. I don't know why.
Do you have kids? Can't the boys come in and figure this out?
They're still sleeping.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What about your wife?
She's still sleeping. Everyone's still sleeping.
Are you nude?
No. I have a nice shirt on.
Oh no.
Actually put gel in my hair. I was ready to go.
Oh, darn.
And now it's just an auditory experience. Wait, so Dan, is this a simulcast?
Yeah.
Technically?
Yeah. It has been since you've known us.
Yeah. But this is even more of a simulcast.
Yeah.
Than ever before.
It would be helpful if we could see you. Like we could get a glimpse into your life, and then maybe you could give us a little tour of your man cave or wherever you are.
Right.
Like that'd be beneficial for my fans.
I know it would have been great.
Yeah.
But here we are. I know it's Fritzy has his Emmys prominently displayed behind him.
Yeah.
Had to spend a lot of money for those.
Yeah.
Do you have any Emmys?
I finally got an Emmy. I have one Emmy.
That's for, am I supposed to guess? As a producer on Succession?
Yes, if you could please guess. Thank you.
Is it Succession?
No. As a producer on the live sitcom we did, All in the Family and the Jeffersons with Jimmy Kimmel.
Oh, and you got an Emmy for that?
Which is, how nice is that?
What other awards do you have for acting in there? I mean, you don't have the big one yet.
The Tony?
Yeah.
I mean?
But
No,
that's coming. That is coming.
I don't have any awards for acting. I've got a couple amazing. I think I have 3 Guys' Choice Awards when that used to exist. I've got some ESPYs. Once again, not for acting. The most prestigious award I have is the Mark Twain Award for American comedy.
That's a big deal.
That's a big deal, right?
How nervous were you that night? That's in D.C., and that's where
Right.
your constituents, your fellow comedians, come forward and say nice things about you.
Say nice things. You sit up in a like a royal box situation,
Yeah.
and then you have to come down and make a speech yourself with your family watching and in front of 1,000 people. So it's a pretty heady thing, but it was one of the highlights.
Yeah, that's a big deal. I saw Dave Chappelle when he got that, and it looked like it was pretty big night for everybody.
I was a little disappointed because I was under the impression when I got mine that they weren't going to give any more out. That they were like, we're good.
Yeah. We've
Yeah.
exhausted the humor.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Woo, we're done. What are your plans today? Like when you get done with this, what will you do?
I'm gonna get the IT guy out. That's for sure. Then I'll have to do a deep cleaning. Let's see. I might go exercise. I'll probably have to go walk the dogs.
I saw where you were, like the paparazzi just waits for you to come out of your house, don't they?
There is one area where they hang out. Yeah, up on Mulholland.
And then they just wait for you.
They wait for people. Yes, not necessarily me, but other famous people. Yes.
Well, like what other famous people?
I don't know. I haven't. I ran in. My wife and I ran into Sacha Baron Cohen and Isla Fisher.
Oh yeah.
One day.
Okay.
And then that's been it. So.
Well, what do you talk about? Do you like? Is it you know each other?
Well, they were on bicycles and they stopped and they said, "Oh, hey, it's you guys," and we said, "Oh, hey, it's you guys," and then they asked us about our sheepdog Cosmo that we were walking, and where did we get a dog like that? And we explained, and they then said, well, "We might email you guys because maybe we'll get a sheepdog," and that's the level of conversation that's happening in the Hollywood Hills.
Is it assumed that famous people know famous people? Like everybody knows everybody?
Yeah, it's assumed, and it's also, but there's also a strange, I wouldn't call it an immediate intimacy between famous people, but when famous people see famous people, they're like, "Hey, how are you? Yeah, I like you. Yeah, you too. How you been? Good." Where I think other prominent people in other lines of work wouldn't stop, the CEO of Boeing wouldn't stop the, head of GM and go, "Hey, man, I saw you on the cover of Corporate Weekly. You lost some weight. I like what you do over there." So it's, I don't know. It's a strange, you feel like you should say hello. And if you don't, it's rude and, things like that.
He's Will Ferrell, actor, comedian, former Saturday Night Live cast member, and not an IT guy, joining us on the program. What are you watching? Anything good?
Well, I've been watching along with, it sounds like the rest of America, Last Dance.
What do you think?
Well, I'm not the most objective audience only because I'll enjoy anything like that just as a sports fan, just to see the history and to remind yourself, oh right, that happened, but I'm enjoying it thoroughly.
But you're a Laker fan.
Yeah.
You acknowledge though the greatness of Jordan and the Bulls.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you ever go out and I'm trying to think back. What were you doing in the 90s?
Well, I was just trying to remember if I actually got to see Jordan play.
Yeah.
In an actual game. I saw him play twice in the strangest of circumstances. I saw him as a sophomore when he was a sophomore at Carolina play because I was a camper at the Dean Smith basketball camp in University of North Carolina. The only kid from California, probably one of the few kids from out of state, and they did a pickup scrimmage between some alumni and the current team and Michael Jordan. We watched Michael Jordan play.
Wait, how did you end up at Dean Smith's basketball camp coming from California?
I was just a weird kid, Dan.
Were your parents trying to get
No.
we're not. Okay.
No. Yeah, they were trying to get me away from. No, all my family's from North Carolina. So my dad went to Chapel Hill, and we thought it would be.
Oh, that's cool.
It'd be fun to go to basketball camp, even though, like I said, I was the only kid from California, and most of the campers go with their own team. So every kid had like 4 or 5 buddies except for me. So I'd lie in my dorm room going, only 4 more nights. Only 4 more nights. You can do it.
Did you ever meet Jordan?
I met him. You know what? I met him while we were shooting. I think we were shooting Bewitched at Culver Studios, and they said Jordan's next door shooting a Hanes underwear commercial. So he wasn't in his underwear, but yeah, met him. That's the one time I met him.
You would have been great in a Hanes underwear
I
commercial,
know.
right?
Thank you.
Like put you in some medium underwear and let you.
Yep.
I mean, that's right in your wheelhouse.
I'm not.
You're going to move some product.
I'm a little bit past the medium. I probably have to go XL.
Yeah.
But still. Yeah, I'm. If Hanes is listening, I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
How did you end up in the Seattle Seahawks video chat?
Oh, that was all Pete. That was Pete Carroll who had texted me. We were texting a little bit during the draft because he had said that I was a I was a draft clue. Zoolander was a draft clue. And did I have any other ideas to send him?
Wait, what do you mean draft clue?
I don't know. He didn't ever explain it. And so I go, well, what does it have to? I can send you clues. I assumed he meant, self-referential clues, things from movies I'd done, etc. And I said, what do the clues have to correlate to anything? He's like, no, doesn't matter. So I don't know if they just post things to try to throw their fans off as to who they might be drafting.
And then he said, hey, I'm going to do this video chat with.
Yeah. Then the next day he was like, you want to crash our thing.
And you were Greg Olson.
I was Greg Olson, the incoming tight end.
And he let himself go. Like
former Carolina Panther.
Yeah, he did not look in game shape.
I don't think he thinks there's going to be a season, so he's let himself go. Yeah.
Do you think there's going to be a comedy made off of this, quarantine?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I don't know. I don't know if you're anything that's set in contemporary times. Does it beg to have to address what's going on, or are people going to want to watch things where we're not reminded of this? I'm not quite sure. It's a really good question.
Got a little serious there on me, didn't you?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What are you doing? Don't do that. Don't do that. Well, I was wondering if you have a relationship that starts because of quarantine, and then you're stuck together. The first date.
Well, there's definitely going to be a romantic comedy in which people. I think I really love her. Oh, she's super special. Guess what? I can't see her for 6 months.
But you've never been in a rom-com with Kate Hudson like every other male actor has, right? You're due for a Kate Hudson rom-com.
I am due for a classic Kate Hudson, Matthew McConaughey rom-com. Yes.
You'll be the wacky neighbor there.
No, I'm going to be a tough, sweet-talking corporate lawyer.
Mm.
You don't like that? Yeah.
Well, I wish I could have seen you. It would have been really, really good for me in my career.
Guys, you look great. I love watching all the Danettes watch me, but you're not. You just have to look into the camera, and my it's just a void. You're just looking at a void.
Why rank how my guys look? So start with Fritzy. What do you make of his setup that he's got there?
Fritz, let's see. It some beautiful burnished hardwood walls there. I can't quite see what that is. That a child's piece of artwork behind
It
you there?
is. It
Yes.
definitely is.
Oh, there we go. That now we're up close. And then it looks like what is that a Sports Illustrated cover of McMahon behind you?
There's a John Elway after
Oh, it's
beating the
John
Packers
Elway.
in the Super Bowl.
Great.
What do you think of McLovin's setup there in Brooklyn?
McLovin, I got it. Can you go full frame here? I can't quite see. Oh, okay. A lot of sunlight coming in. You get a lot of light in that room.
I do. Is
that
it's
the room
lovely here in Brooklyn?
When you get depressed, you go into that room?
Yeah, but it's a greenhouse. It's very hot in here.
That's the entire
it's very
apartment there.
minimal.
Yeah, it is.
Very minimal.
Seaton set up at his crib.
Seaton, let's see what you have there. I love the Washburn guitar there behind you. Oh, that's your beat laboratory. The synth.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're making beats here for sure.
You and the family record. You have a little family band. You record a lot of tracks, or
Yeah. That's my son's guitar right over
Okay.
there. So he also plays the piano. So
next to the drink cart.
right, yeah, we put it right up there.
Okay.
Yeah, right by the bar.
I like the drink cart.
And then you got Paulie here in the man cave with me.
Oh, Paulie's in the man cave, so
Yeah, that's
Who
every
really
day.
cares?
Yeah, that's every day. That's every day. Well, I'm glad you're doing well. You never look better, and
Thanks, guys.
Hopefully, we'll get a chance to see you one day.
I think this really inspires me. I want to do an in-studio appearance at some point when this all loosens up, where I just wear a black tarp over my head.
Just like you're giving the appearance now, you have a
Yeah.
screen that is
But
entirely black.
it'll be a in-studio Zoom-like appearance.
I am going to look forward to that. And once again, I swear to God, if you pull the tape off that, if there's tape on that camera, and
If I find out there was tape on the, I mean, I'm looking at
no,
it. There's tape.
it's your computer. I don't know if your camera's not working or you put black tape on the computer. Now, if you did, it's a great bit, and I'll applaud you.
It's a Commodore PC. Are they still good?
Okay, well, maybe time for an upgrade, but
I
I'm
don't know about it. I love
I'm
this.
going to say goodbye, and if I see you pull that piece of
Oh,
black,
pull that tape off. Wouldn't that be the best?
it would be. I would applaud you, but
It's like the time you guys thought I was going to come out in clown makeup or whatever. when I took an hour and a half to get ready for your guys' show in LA.
Yeah,
there was no
and you
bit
were in,
behind it.
yeah,
guys
you were
so
in
disappointed.
Yeah, you were in a sweatsuit. I went.
Yeah.
Why did it take an hour and a half to put that together? Right?
I don't know.
You know what? Good luck the rest of your busy day. Tell Sacha Baron Cohen that I say hello, and the paparazzi as well.
Okay.
That's Will Ferrell right there. He took part in COVID is No Joke, a comedy fundraiser this past Friday, and we almost got to see what that all looked like there. Yeah, Paulie.
I truly don't know if that was a bit or not.
I don't know either. I'm gonna say no, it's not. But with the caveat, it very well could have been a bit where he put black tape over his computer. We'll take a break. Last call for phone calls. We'll close up shop after this on the Dan Patrick Show. But when you play golf with Brady, at what point does he stop being Tom Brady and he's just Tom you're playing with?
When we're out there playing, like I said, he's competitive. It doesn't matter what we're playing for. He's on it, and he's in it.
Who's more competitive, Michael Jordan or Brady, when you play?
Ooh, I would need to see that in a team game matchup where Tom and MJ are on opposite teams, that could get pretty heated. I would have to put them. I'd have to put them on the same page. They're two of obviously the greatest at what they did, and Tom still does, which is pretty impressive. He's had the career that he's had and is still rolling.
But do famous people ask for golf lessons?
They do, for sure. I would say Tom's a little bit more of one that's will ask and is open to some pointers. MJ's kind of got his stuff together. He's been playing, I think, a lot longer, and then obviously being a little bit more free time on his hands. He kind of owns what he has. He has, a little bit of an unorthodox swing, but he's got a damn good short game. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I think it would be fun to see that. And Tiger once told me, if we play golf, and I say how much we playing for, and he said, whatever makes you nervous. I think Jordan uses that line too. Did he use it on you?
Oh yeah, no, he uses it. We have our kind of standard game now, so it's nothing that's kind of a nervous feeling. We go out and enjoy it and love beating up on each other, but that is definitely his standard line when it comes to someone new joining the game.
Yeah, they like to say that, and then you get up. But I don't know what amount would make you nervous.
Oh, there's always an amount. I like to keep it friendly, though. I don't want to have any hurt feelings one side or the other after the day. It's obviously different when you're playing for your own money and having to whip out the cash on the 18th green, though.
What's the most money you've ever seen change hands? You don't have to do names. Most money that you were ever involved in or you saw.
Well, for myself, I haven't been involved in a whole lot. I mean, it's playing for maybe 1,000, couple thousand here and there. Friendly games. The most I've seen thrown around. I haven't been in any of those big games. Maybe seen 5 or 10 change hands. Nothing crazy. I try and I stay away from those if anything. I like my like I said, the good friendly games. Go have fun. It's enough to put a little dent there and have bragging rights.
Fritzy was doing his Dr. Phil impersonation. Out of nowhere this morning, Fritzy starts, I don't even know what happened.
I have no idea, but we were in the morning meeting and I just kind of blurted something out.
Okay, what bothers you about Dr. Phil?
It's very frustrating. He has people on with like genuine problems. Someone's cheating on somebody or someone's kid's got like a drug problem. And he throws out these lines you'd get like from a fortune cookie or in a newspaper horoscope that don't apply or make any sense to help, these poor people go on with their lives or cope with their current situation.
For instance?
For instance, would be like, my daughter, she's on drugs and I don't know what to do. We're afraid something really bad's going to happen. Well, you bought this big fancy aquarium, but you ain't got no fish in it. I know. Okay, but my daughter, she's on drugs. I don't know, something really bad's going to happen. You're at the grocery store trying to get an oil change. That's the problem with what's going on in your house. My husband's cheating on me. He's got kids with like 11 different people. You're walking around in your boots and lasso and you think you won't be called a cowboy. I don't know how that's going to happen. You're hard of hearing, but you got that fancy stereo system in the living room for some reason. You can't hear anything. That's what the problem is.
Oh.
So how's that going to get my kid off drugs again?
Isn't that just good old country logic that Dr. Phil's got? Where's he from? Is Dr. Phil from the South or something?
And they take shots at the crowd like they're all fascinated. The producers really, I guess, coach him up. Like, wow, I didn't think of that. Why would you buy a big fancy aquarium and not have any fish in it? That'll get my kid off drugs for sure.
If you put fish in the aquarium, he's from Oklahoma. Okay, but maybe it's just that good Midwest charm that he's got.
He says it in such a compelling way. It's like, yeah, I didn't think of that. Why should I send my kid to rehab? I should just look at the whole fancy aquarium with no fish in it. That'll do it.
All right, college football fans, I got some information for you. This according to a source. Here's a consensus going around among the major conferences if things progress at a predictable curve. We're going to have 10 games. Now, this is somebody on the inside, a source saying 10 games with a later start, and that means later in the calendar year. 9 conference games. Regional games take preference, less travel. You won't have any FCS games. Players returning mid-June, maybe early July. So Ohio State would play Akron or Kentucky. Illinois would schedule Northern Illinois or Missouri. Bus to more games, not flying. The conference that is struggling is the Pac-12. California is a concern when it will open, and they stretch from Washington to Arizona. Money will be a concern. Attendance will be limited. In some cases, Rutgers wouldn't necessarily fly to Minnesota for a game. Pac-12, not many regional options. UNLV, New Mexico, Portland State, Reno. So those are just some of the things that they're looking at here with the college football season. And that is how much travel can you have, the schedule that you're going to have, and how many games are you going to have. So 9 conference games, and then you would have maybe just a regional game. Suzanne in Atlanta is the scoreboard winner for Fritzy. Does this have to do with this day in sports history as well, Todd?
One is a birthday, one is a date in history.
31 and 77.
The clues are takes the cake, but that gives away the birthday part, so it doesn't really help you much. And going solo.
Solo.
Emphasizing solo.
Yes, McLovin.
I know that one as a nerd. It's May the 4th.
May the 4th be with you. 1977 is when the hits theaters. Star Wars Han Solo is your 77 part.
And the 31 is?
It's Rory McIlroy's 31st birthday today.
All right. And Rory somehow takes the cake with his birthday.
Because he gets a birthday cake.
Thank you. Brooks Koepka is going to join us on the program tomorrow.
Sure is.
Yes, he is. This day in sports history, Paulie.
1984, Dan, Dave Kingman hit a fly ball that got stuck in the roof of the Metrodome.
Yep.
That's it.
All right. JR in Illinois. Hey, JR.
Hi, Dan.
Hey, JR.
Thank you.
Yeah.
6'4", 190. Regarding your 73 RS and the Viper Green, I've got a couple questions for you.
Okay.
First, what wheel color are you going to run with that Viper Green?
I don't know if I'm going to do black wheels. I don't.
Good.
But I'm looking at maybe an all black wheel.
Wonderful. Now, what about the size? I like the black. What about the size? Are they going to be more of a stock size? Or are you going to do a little resto mod, maybe a little bit bigger wheel with that?
A little bigger wheel.
You got it. I love it. It's going to look absolutely perfect. I'm happy for you. Can't wait to see a picture of it.
Thank you, JR. All right. I'm going with Viper Green for my 73 RS. Front row didn't like it. Yes,
It is interesting that people do seem to like those types of cars do go with very bold colors, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I love Porsche that has, Porsche has so many. They used to have a lot of bright colors. Then it felt like there was a lot of silver and red, maroon, and I wasn't interested in that. I wanted, something that had some vibrancy to it. Yeah, and I certainly got it. Viper Green. Fritzy, what'd you learn today?
Michael Jordan preferred listening to Anita Baker's Giving You the Best That I Got before a game as opposed to hip-hop or rap music.
McLovin?
Tim Kalishaw is a sweatpants and button-down shirt guy.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Final results of the poll question, McLovin.
Would the Bulls have won 8 straight? 54% said yes, so it came down during the show.
All right. Seton O'Connor.
Will Ferrell has tape over his camera just like everyone else.
Paulie?
Big whiff by Haynes, not wedging Will Ferrell into an underwear commercial with Michael Jordan.
All right.
Wedging.
All right.
Nice.
No matter what happens, you want to make sure your loved ones are taken care of. That's why LegalZoom has made it easy to set up the right estate plan without leaving your home. Take care of your family today with the right estate plan at LegalZoom.com. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Do it again tomorrow, right here on The Dan Patrick Show.